find out if they're for real tonight. A solid show last week, but they'll meet a much better team this evening. Ready for the kickoff at Frank Clair Stadium in Ottawa as the Rough Riders and the BC Lions get set for their second game of 1994. Lou Pasaglia has it underway, or almost. It bounces out near the 15-yard line. What do you think is going to be the difference in this one tonight, partner?
Well, John, I think for the Ottawa Rough Riders, it really has to be the running game of Michael Richardson. You know, Stefan Jones, their deep threat, is not in the lineup, out with an injury tonight. So really, in order for them to win this game, I think Michael Richardson has to have a really good night on the ground.
And Richardson had that last week against the Shreveport Pirates. Adam Rita wanted to run the ball and says he'd like to run it even a little more in this one tonight. Dave Ritchie is looking for a little more running as well, with Corey Philpott inserted into his lineup this evening.
Yeah, I think that'll make a big difference for them. A week ago, they really had Sean Millington playing a running back. He's a fullback, and with Corey Philpott in there, very good runner and extremely good catching out of the backfield. That will certainly help their offense.
This kick dribbles along the ground, and Michael Richardson claims it near the 30. He slips as he crosses the 35. Danny Barrett gives the Ottawa offense more mobility, leadership, and confidence. 3 touchdowns in week number 1 for Danny Barrett as he leads the Ottawa Rough Riders onto the field. 17 of 32, 275. 3 touchdowns, a couple of interceptions for Barrett in week 1.
Pretty typical Danny Barrett kind of game. 54%, which is his career average, and did enough things right to win the ball game.
On first down, Richardson gets the call, and there's nowhere to go. Tonight's starting lineups for Speedy Auto Glass. Don't take a chance. Take your auto glass repairs and replacements to Speedy Auto Glass. Here's Barrett's backfield as you look at it tonight, with Michael Richardson and Darren Joseph to do the running. Receiving corps, a little bit nicked with Stefan Jones out of the lineup. A couple of rookies on the outside, Jock Climbey and Mazzoli inside.
And a new look offensive line. Jim Mills gets to play against his old buddies tonight, starting at right tackle.
2nd and 10 Rough Riders at the 35. Barrett pumps once and looks deep. Looking for Horace Brooks, number 2, playing his first game in Canadian football, and Brooks can't run underneath that Danny Barrett pass.
And Angelo Snipes coming back to Ottawa for his first game against his former teammates, and you'll see to the top of the screen some good pressure just as Danny Barrett releases the football, but Angelo Snipes said he's going to have 5 sacks tonight.
He had a couple last week.
That's a pretty bold statement.
Yeah,
he had a big one at the end of the game to seal that win for the Lions, with Matt Dunnigan driving from the 11-yard line. Angelo Snipes made a sack to end the ball game.
Terry Baker across the 25 on this 3rd down punt. It is high. Basinger is deep for the BC Lions. He'll have no play near the 35. A groggy start for Kent Austin with the Lions last week in his first game as the BC quarterback, but he rallied and won over Winnipeg. 12 of 23 for 190 yards. Interceptions were a problem for Kent.
Yeah, they really were early, but you know, Austin is notoriously a slow starter in his season, so it really wasn't surprising. Actually took a hit in the head early in that game too, so he spent a better part of the second quarter on the bench.
Lions begin at the 36. Philpott takes the pitch, but the play was whistled down before Philpott could get anywhere. Referee in charge of proceedings tonight is Jake Ireland. And we'll sort out the problem down at the line of scrimmage.
You know, Gord in his opening mentioned Matt Dunnigan's phenomenal passing record last night, and you'd have to think Kent Austin, with the group of receivers he's come in to play with, Urban Fernandez, Ray Alexander, Mike Trevathan, and of course Darren Flutie, that they're thinking and probably talking today, hey,
offside, Ottawa number 50, still first down.
They would love to be able to maybe take a run at that new record as well.
Jesse Small called there. He's quick, and he was a little too quick that time. It'll be 1st and 5 for the Lions, with Alexander to the near side, Fernandez flanked to the far side, top of your screen. Same play. Philpott gets the call, and he has a first down with yards to spare across midfield. Remy Trudel in on the tackle on Corey Philpott, a 16-yard gain. It is Philpott along with Sean Millington in the BC backfield joining Kent Austin. Receivers to drool over, as Leaf was talking about. Alexander Fernandez outside, Trevathan Flutie on the inside spots, and all guys could have 1,000-yard years.
Ian Sinclair back in the lineup tonight. The 10-year veteran did not play in their opener last week, but he is back to anchor a veteran offensive line. Jamie Terrace really the only real newcomer without a great deal of playing time at right guard.
From the 53, Austin with time to throw on first down. And Darren Flutie has his first catch of the game. He's very close to a first down. We'll see where they spot the ball. Tackle made by Brett Young, number 23.
Yeah, John, as is always the case when you play against Kent Austin, if you're going to give him lots of time to throw, it can be an awfully long night for you. The play action freezes the linebackers just enough that it allows Flutie to work his way across the field. Plenty of time to make that catch. But Kent Austin standing tall in that pocket. And if you don't get pressure on Austin, we all know what kind of numbers he can put up in a hurry.
It is a first down, as indicated by referee Jake Ireland. So the BC drive continues. Now at the Ottawa 43. Early in this one, 12:17 to go in the opening quarter. Again, Alexander near side. Fernandez to the far side of the field. Philpott tries the other side, and it's open as well. Close to another first down. In fact, he does have it. Stopped by Gary Lewis. Checking out the defense for Ottawa, Derek McCready moves in to join John Kropke and Glenn Kulka up front. Jesse Small, who got rave reviews last week for a terrific impact game. Braswell, Bonner, and Benefield round out the group of linebackers.
And I don't think there's any question the two corners, Andre Francis and young Patrick Burke, are going to have a real test tonight. And, well, I'm interested to watch Patrick Burke play against both Ray Alexander and Mervyn Fernandez. Patrick Burke, an excellent bump and run corner and much more comfortable in a man-to-man style of defense, which Ottawa plays predominantly. And that is a matchup that I think you folks at home are going to enjoy following tonight.
I spoke too soon. They're a couple of inches short there. It'll be second down, less than a yard to go. Less than 6 inches to go. An easy call for Dave Ritchie here. Maybe put it up and go for some points here, Leaf. What do you think?
I think it's a great idea, especially since Ottawa is only playing 2 down defensive linemen. They've only got John Kropke and Glenn Kulka. Everybody else is a linebacker, defensive back.
Millington finds a big hole, and the BC Lions have been running through the Ottawa Rough Rider defense. Remy Trudel on the tackle, the safety, and Millington is inside the 15.
With the injury to O'Brien Robinson last week, he is out. They were playing a 3-man front, but now all they've got is Kropke and Cook, only 2 defensive linemen in the game, so that really dictates to BC that you must run and attack right at it, and they open a huge hole for Sean Millington to run through. But if Ottawa is going to stay in that defense, they have an extra defensive back in there, Gary Lewis. Boy, that you're just inviting a team to run over you.
An 18-yard gain sets the BC Lions up 1st and 10 at the Ottawa 15, and Philpott has another hole to the outside. Philpott drives his way in for the touchdown. Corey Philpott has the BC Lions in front with a 15-yard touchdown run. He had a 16-yard run on the previous sequence. So Millington carries at 18, and Philpott the rest of the way as the BC Lions march for the touchdown.
Well, maybe a questionable start on defense for Ottawa with their personnel, but sometimes injury dictates that as the BC Lion offensive line just manhandles everybody, and Jamie Terrace, Vic Stevenson lead Philpott around the corner, and they cap off a very impressive opening drive, and they did it mostly on the ground.
Dave Ritchie said he wanted to run the football a bit more. Bisaglia makes it 7-0, and he's done just that on the opening sequence for the BC Lions. The Lions in front of the Ottawa Rough Riders. It's 7-0 at Frank Blair Stadium. This is CFL Live.
CFL Live on TSN. Tonight's game is brought to you by Pepsi. Be young, have fun, drink Pepsi. And by Mark's Work Warehouse, clothes that work.
Welcome back live to Ottawa. Corey Philpott, 3 carries, 41 yards, and a touchdown. 3 carries in the opening drive. Lee?
Well, they made it look pretty easy, but the offensive line absolutely manhandled the Ottawa defense and made it look pretty easy. Here you'll see Denny Chronopoulos here. Watch the block back on Kuka. Now you've got Terrace. You got Big Vic Stevenson coming around, leading up for Philpott right through the hole, and with only a 2-man front, that becomes a pretty easy defense to run block against, and I don't think anybody got a glove on Philpott till he got down around the 3-4 yard line, and he bolts his way into the end zone, and a lovely looking opening drive.
He's not a big guy, very powerful and very shifty, as you saw there.
Well, sometimes as a defense, you want to try and take a team's strength away, which is obviously passing for BC, and make them run to beat you. Well, so far they've been able to run very effectively. Maybe Ottawa has to change that strategy.
Richardson deep for the Ottawa Rough Riders. Takes it on the dead run at the 20. He's near the 35. Stopped at about the 34-yard line. Michael Allen leading the tacklers for the BC Lions. A 15-yard return and decent field position once more for the Ottawa Rough Riders. On defense, Glenn Scribner is the veteran up front for the BC Lions, with Dave Chaters moving in along with Andrew Stewart. Linebackers led by Angelo Snipes last week, and some new faces there with Chapman Ford and Virgil Robertson.
Got a couple of new faces in the secondary, Charles Gordon and Enos Jackson, and that group had a whale of a game against Winnipeg in the opener.
1st and 10 Ottawa. This is Michael Richardson away from a couple of tackles, and he's across the 40-yard line. Chapman made the tackle, a 7-yard gain for Michael Richardson.
I don't think it's any secret what the Ottawa offensive game plan tonight is. It's Richardson, Richardson, and more Richardson. There you see the total, 222 all-purpose yards last week, 1 touchdown as a result. But with Stephon Jones out, this man really has to carry the load.
And he does again. He should have the first down. 2nd and 4, maybe just a tad shy. No, he should have it. First down for the Ottawa Rough Riders. They said they would run at the BC Lions. They're doing that. The Lions said they would run a little bit more, but they ran it all the way down the field for the game's first touchdown. Ottawa first down at the 45. BC leading 7-0. Richardson, good move. Nice run inside for Michael Richardson, and Angelo Snipes was there. Number 91, another 7 for Michael.
Well, he got a great block from the right guard, 64, Bruce Beaton, on Andrew Stewart. You'll see Stewart, 73, is turned to the outside right there, and Michael Richardson, who is an extremely north-south type of runner. That means he doesn't dance in the hole. He finds it, gets his head in there, and powers his way through. That's a nice pickup.
2nd and 3, Richardson again, and nowhere to go this time. Chapman was there, number 47, along with number 91, Angelo Snipes. So the Rough Riders come up about a yard shy. 3rd and 1. No gamble this time for head coach Adam Rita. Snipes had quite a week for the BC Lions. The big sack, as Leaf talked about, at the very end of the game against Winnipeg, finished off the Blue Bombers. He was named Lineman of the Week.
Yeah, and he talked about this game. He said, hey, they traded me and brought in this rookie, Jesse Small, so I'm going to show them they made a mistake. Well, you always like to do that against your former team, but I don't think they made a huge mistake.
Terry Baker angles it away from Freeman Basinger. He draws markers near the 20-yard line. We'll sort it out when we return to Frank Clair Stadium. Here with the CFL Live on TSN. The Lions lead it 7-0.
Dave Ritchie, former defensive coordinator of the Ottawa Rough Riders, spoke to us before this game about what his game plan would be for his BC Lions against the Ottawa Rough Riders.
Well, we're going to have to get pressure in several ways. We're going to have to do it with zones and with man. So basically, we just have to keep coming. We have to get through the blocks and keep on coming. The same type of offenses. Winnipeg ran the ball a lot. I think they want Richardson here to have the ball 20 to 25 times. So, you know, you're going to see him running a lot. Danny's running dashes and sprint outs and, you know, different things, counter bootlegs to keep the defense honest. So we're looking at the same thing. We're looking a lot like Edmonton's offense last year. So we've prepped up all week for it. So we're going to come in and see how we can play it.
Well, it seems like both teams have it figured out pretty well. It all becomes now just a time of all the athletes going out and playing football.
Lions are now set up with a first down just out across the 35 at the 36. There was a no yards penalty against Ottawa, a face masking penalty against Ottawa, and a holding penalty against BC. All three on that previous play, and that's why we are where we are. From the 36, Philpott again. He's been running brilliantly so far tonight, and he's out across the 50. Trudell again moving up from his safety spot to stop Philpott after a 14-yard gain.
Yeah, even with Ottawa going back to a three-man front, they brought Derek McCready in, but once again Philpott has a huge hole open to run through. There's Jamie Terrace, and you see Braswell misses right there, but look at that, my goodness. If it continues like that, it's going to be a long night for Ottawa.
Lions first down at the BC 51. Another penalty marker. Philpott took the pitch from Kent Austin, and it would appear to be against the Ottawa Rough Riders. We'll check it out.
Well, last week, like us, the BC Lions noticed the impressive debut of young Jesse Small for the Ottawa Rough Riders. Two ways they're planning to attack him tonight. One, Kent Austin trying to draw him offside by mixing up his cadence. The second leaf is to run right at him. They don't feel he respects the run enough that he just charges up ahead trying to get the sack, so they'll run at the hole that he vacates.
Yeah, he becomes a pretty easy guy to trap, and you might see Vic Stevenson coming from all the way across the field when Jesse Small gets upfield in the trap.
Alexander is in the open on 1st and 15. Burke made the stop, and it's an easy first down for the BC Lions.
And once again, Kent Austin with all kinds of time to throw. Watch the pocket here. It's a great look at it that's formed, and he has a nice lane downfield, easy vision to find Ray Alexander on the kind of post hook pattern. But another great feature of this BC offense is the size of the receivers. Heck, you've got Alexander and Fernandez at around 6'4" each, and boy, Austin at well over 6 feet. It's very easy to find these guys.
Each with 4 1,000-yard seasons career. Here's Kent Austin on first down, looking deep. The other side for Fernandez. And Francis moved in to cover number 24.
Yeah, number 24 was the league MVP in 1985. That year, 15 touchdown passes he had off 95 receptions, and I think that's good to try and loosen the defense up early with Mervyn Fernandez. Run them deep. They didn't complete it, but it really does serve a purpose. Now, Andre Francis may give him a little more cushion.
Fernandez was the Lions' leading receiver last week in the win over Winnipeg. 6:05 to go, the opening quarter. This is 2nd and 10. BC at the Ottawa 47. Kolka was through as Austin slipped. Number 68, Glenn Kolka.
Kent Austin a little trouble with his footing as he goes to the roll, but you'll see Kolka, they're trying to block and set it up out here, but he just sneaks through and puts a little pressure in on Austin. Yeah, Jamie Terrace, the right guard, he's got to slide over. When they do that slide protection, he has to slide through and pick up the man on the nose, which was Kolka. He just didn't get it done.
-8, thanks to Kolka for Ottawa, and a 3rd down punting situation for Lou Pasaglia and the BC Lions. Too deep for Ottawa. Not a deep kick for Pasaglia. Horace Brooks in his first game gets a couple on the return, and that's about all. Just a 25-yard punt for Lou Pasaglia. So the Ottawa Rough Riders escape, giving up no points. They're still down by a touchdown, but Ottawa has the ball.
The Ottawa Rough Riders opened the '94 season in style last week, thrashing the Shreveport Pirates. Danny Barrett on week 1.
Well, anytime you have the home opener and season opener across the league, of course you want to have a good showing. And for us here in Ottawa, seeing that we've lost a lot of fan support, it was a big win for us. And everybody's saying it wasn't against a quality opponent, and we don't agree with that because we have the bumps and bruises to show for that. But it was a good start for us, and now what we have to do is to build on that and just to get better. We play good, but we can play better.
Good point by Danny Barrett. The Ottawa Rough Riders did play a solid football game. The Shreveport Pirates, in their first CFL game ever, were not really up to a strong challenge for Ottawa.
Well, you know, offensively, Shreveport didn't play well, but the defense didn't play that poorly, and you know, Danny Barrett and his offense really had to work for their points. So I think they should, and we're happy with it.
Holding call against the Rough Riders on the return sets Ottawa up at the 15. Here's Barrett pumping once and looking deep for Horace Brooks. He makes the catch and drops it. Les Brown was covering on Horace Brooks. He had the ball for a half a stride and should have held on. Brooks playing in Stephon Jones's position tonight.
And one of the reasons why Les Brown is one of the cagiest corners to ever play this game. He's beaten there, but look at the left arm come through and knock the ball loose. I mean, that is a heck of a play. I mean, he's beaten. Horace Brooks, a super post pattern, but Les Brown just strips it loose. So, hey, I'll do the next best thing. When he catches it, I'm just going to knock it down.
Yeah, Dave Ritchie says he's still the best in the league.
Well, I mean, he is cagey. That's quite a play.
This is 2nd and 10, back at the 16. Barrett gets some heats, goes to the far side. Climby couldn't hang on. Enos Jackson was covering on Jock Climby. So it's 2-0 as the Ottawa Rough Rider offense heads to the sidelines.
Nice addition to the BC defense this year is linebacker number 48, Brian Ford. Has some National Football League experience. As a Canadian, you'll watch how he comes right up the gut and puts quite a hit on Danny Barrett. And boy, those things take their toll over the course of a game. The quarterback is on the ground like that on every series, and you can lose your enthusiasm in a hurry when you take hits like that.
Ottawa Rough Riders are losing an early battle for field position.
And that's not to suggest that Danny Barrett will, but I mean, that is not fun, taking the bumps and bruises right up the middle.
Basinger on the return for BC. And he's surrounded quickly. Stopped near the 50, but still very good field position for BC. How about Matthew Dunnigan last night? I read that this morning. I absolutely couldn't believe that I wasn't seeing a misprint. But, folks, this is right. 33 of 52, 713 yards for Dunnigan, and 5 touchdowns against the Grey Cup champions.
Well, no question, it was the topic of discussion among CFL fans all across the country this morning. And boy, a lot of credit goes to Alfred Jackson, who was a big part of that with 4 touchdown catches, over 300 yards and receptions. But that is a tough one to believe. Our congratulations to Matt if you're watching some kind of performance.
Yeah, new CFL record, Matthew. Corey Philpott for the Lions out near the 45. And in the other action in Canadian football last evening, it was the Gold Miners. David Archer has a pretty good night in a 25-22 victory over the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Archer threw for 374 yards and 3 touchdowns, and that's overshadowed by what Matthew Dunnigan did in Winnipeg. Second and 5, facing Kent Austin of the BC Lions. Austin with time. Fernandez stretches and makes the catch. He's inside the 30 in front of Andre Francis. Nice 16-yard pickup for Mervyn Fernandez.
Yeah, and earlier Fernandez went deep on Andre Francis, and you'll see the result right now. Andre Francis giving Mervyn quite a bit of cushion, respecting the deep threat, and as Fernandez goes into the middle, you know, Andre Francis just can't close in time, and well, that's a luxury for Austin. He can throw it up really high because these receivers are so tall.
Yeah, either side. And even the inside receivers have got good height. Big. Yeah. 1st and 10. Over the middle, Fernandez makes the catch. Near the 10 in front of Francis. 19 yards for Fernandez that time. And this is more of what we were expecting from Kent Austin with this high-powered group of receivers.
And if you're Andre Francis, you really have to hope that you get help from the middle safety, Remy Trudel, but he just can't get there quick enough. You'll see him come late and try and put the hit on Fernandez, but they're making it look pretty easy on this drive.
Lions lead it by a touchdown. 2:34 to go in the opening quarter in Ottawa. Lions 1st and 10. Goal to go. Austin is hit as he tried to deliver that one. That was David Benefield, number 48, coming through to nail Kent Austin in the throwing motion.
Well, you have to like the Ottawa defense. They're getting burned, but yet they still come with more pressure. The blitz, David Benefield had an important sack a week ago, and he gets right into the face of Kent Austin with the good blitz, the good sack, and a nice result.
2nd and goal from the 10. Austin, more heat, looks to the end zone, and Basinger makes the catch. Freeman Basinger got behind Brett Young. So a very effective march for the BC Lions as Basinger snuck in to make the touchdown catch.
So this is 2 drives by the BC Lions that look very easy. The throw into the hole, and then Austin just expects Basinger to react and go and find it. He's in behind Patrick Burke on the corner, but that was more a case of Austin saying, hey, there's the open area. I'm going to put the ball there, and I'm sure Freeman Basinger can go and find it, which he did.
It's 14-0 for the BC Lions, leading the Ottawa Rough Riders. And really, Ottawa have had difficulty moving the football so far tonight. Penalties have been a problem. The Lions have been very effective offensively. Two long drives for touchdowns. Basinger made a 10-yard catch for his first touchdown of 1994.
And I think Urban Bowman, the defensive coordinator from Ottawa's worst fears are being realized here in the first quarter, that Kent Austin simply does not have 2 poor games in a row. There's Urban Bowman on the left of Adam Rita, and Patrick Burke's explaining, hey, this guy did that, this guy did this, and he did that, and I got beaten for a touchdown.
51-yard drive ends in another BC touchdown. Minute 45 to go in the opening quarter.
Yeah, and Ottawa,
quiet here all of a sudden.
John, Ottawa has to be careful because they're not a big comeback style of offense.
BC on the dead run, recovering the fumble. Chapman comes up with it, number 47. Ellingson touched it. That made it a free ball.
Run that back, you might be able to get it.
Chapman
You got it on the end zone?
takes it on the first hop.
I see Ellingson trips right there, slips down, and Tyrone Chapman, number 47, just picks it up on the dead run.
Paul Clatney has a chance at it here too. Leaf number 29. He gets up again. But Chapman has the fumble recovery and a first down for the BC Lions at the Ottawa 41. Lions defense needs some heat on Austin. They don't get it on this play as Austin finds Darren Flutie, and Flutie almost got to the end zone. Touchdown saving tackle by Remy Trudel. 34 yards.
And play action is probably the best weapon for a Darren Flutie. I mean, his speed is not blinding, so he has lots of time to work on this pattern. Watch how he takes Brett Young upfield, the little move, and then he's allowed to come all the way across the field. The linebackers are frozen by play action, but you know, a receiver, when you're not blinding with speed, that play action really helps you out.
First and goal to go for the Lions, leading 14-0. Goal to go from the 8. Philpott stopped initially and stopped short of the goal line. David Benefield was there to put the stop on Corey Philpott. He's at about the 3.
But Corey Philpott's not a big guy. He's only 5'9", 186 pounds, but he's one of those running backs that is all upper body, very strong arms and chest, and you know, he's much more powerful than you might think with his dimensions.
Second and goal to go. BC Lions at the 4-yard line. Austin looks to the corner. Mike Trevathan runs underneath it, and he makes the catch. Far side of the field. Hard to see. The indication was late, but Trevathan has the 3rd touchdown for the BC Lions.
And I suspect this game looks a lot like the one in Winnipeg might have looked last night, because this really is a passing clinic on the last 2 drives. This one laid up perfectly for Mike Trevathan to run underneath. He gets his first touchdown of the year, and Corey Dowden, the rookie, just can't stay with him. And Again, Austin, boy, he looks like he's just in his easy chair out there controlling this offense tonight.
Yeah, back-to-back touchdown passes. The Lions have had the ball 3 times and scored 3 times. That's the end of quarter number 1 for the BC Lions. Taking it to the Ottawa Rough Riders, Trevathan has the latest touchdown on a 4-yard toss from Kent Austin. Number 7 to number 77. It looked rather easy. Ottawa Rough Riders in a big hole early in this one. It's 21-0 BC leading. This is the CFL Live from Frank Clair Stadium, Ottawa. Welcome back to Ottawa. Tough start for the Ottawa Rough Riders. The Lions have scored 3 touchdowns for a 21-0 lead after quarter number 1. We're set for quarter 2 to begin. And Lou Pasaglia gets behind this one. Horace Brooks taking it near the 15. Riders could use a big return. They don't get it from Brooks that time. He's out across the 25 to about the 27. Spencer McLennan leading the tacklers that time. 61-yard kickoff, 11 yards the return, and Danny Barrett hasn't had his hands on the football very frequently.
The only dark cloud for the BC Lions so far, Mervyn Fernandez. The veteran has a slight groin pull, but with his team up 21-0, they won't take any chances. They'll take another look at halftime, but they don't want to injure their Rolls Royce.
Barrett to his right. Jock Climby makes the catch. Short of the first down, Kelly Sims, number 3, up from his left halfback spot to make the tackle on Climby, who had such a wonderful week last week. 11 receptions for 153 yards and 3 touchdowns, 9 on this play, Lee.
Yeah, he was voted the Offensive Player of the Week in the CFL and does a nice job working Kelly Sims to the inside. And when he gets Sims' hips turned, he breaks it back to the outside. Barrett's on target. I think a roughing penalty will be added on. So the Ottawa Rough Riders, I think, have to answer at least with some points of their own at this stage.
Roughing the passer called against BC. So that sets the Rough Riders up across the 51 at the 52-yard line. First down, Ottawa. Barrett looks deep. Mazzoli makes the catch. He's down to the 10-yard line. 42 yards in front of Kelly Sims, and that's just what the doctor ordered for Ottawa.
And the play action really freezes the middle safety, Tom Europe. You can see him right in the middle, so there is no help for Kelly Sims in behind. Nick Mazzoli with the big play, and the Ottawa Rough Riders desperately need to get back into this one and put a nice drive together.
Michael Richardson caught from behind by Angelo Snipes. Loss of 1.
Well, you see some speed from Angelo Snipes when he's able to come across through the backfield and get Richardson from behind all the way across. That is some kind of defensive play.
Lions lead the first quarter in every category, including 185 net yards and time of possession, more than double what Ottawa was able to muster. A loss of 1. This is 2nd and 11. Barrett looks to the corner and he fires it high for Nick Mazzoli. So they'll settle for 3 on what was a rather impressive march down to the BC 10-yard line. It's one big play to Nick Mazzoli, got them there.
And Danny Barrett's reaction, he had Mazzoli wide open, and that would have been an easy touchdown. He just simply overthrew him.
Terry Baker, good on 3 of 6. His longest from 41 yards last week. He missed one from 61, but that was
they were just letting him do that to check his range out with the new head coach. I know that for sure. Having conversations with Adam Rita.
Bad snap, and Baker is forced to chip it wide. He'll go for a single point, conceded by Freeman Basinger. Markel Fleetwood couldn't quite get a hold of the snap. Tough night all around for Ottawa.
Well, as a former holder, I can tell you that sometimes it's tough when you come in off the bench, but that looked like a pretty good snap. And of course, once it hits the hand, that is your key to start moving as a kicker. Terry Baker, no way he could hold up, but that happens. It's unfortunate.
7-1, 6-7-0-0.
It's 21-1, BC leading Ottawa. Early in the second quarter, the Rough Riders will have to battle back at home tonight. This is CFL Live. Hall of Fame weekend ahead in Hamilton. And partner, you know you're getting a little bit older when your old teammates are heading to the Hall of Fame. Bill Baker, Tom Clements. Gene Gaines, not a teammate of yours. Don McNaughton going in, but Baker and Clements were.
Yes, they were, and I don't know if they're watching tonight. They're probably out celebrating being inducted into the Hall of Fame, but our congratulations to all of them. Gene Gaines, of course, is here tonight as the defensive secondary coach with the BC Lions. For Tommy Clements, Bill Baker, what an honor, and they are all so deserving.
Dave Ritchie's got a good start to this one for the BC Lions. A very different story from Game 1 for the Lions against the Blue Bombers, where BC was down 15-0 before rallying to come from behind and win. Lions first down. Austin over the middle, and Alexander stretches to make the catch. Plenty for the first down in front of Patrick Burke, a 19-yard gain. Austin has been on the target all night. Alexander slightly shaken up.
Good move from Alexander. You saw initially to get away from the bump and run of Patrick Burke, and that is Burke's forte. Now, if he can't stay with Alexander, it could be a long night for him, but Alexander was able to shake the young corner pretty quickly off the line of scrimmage.
Quickly, the Lions are out to midfield with a first down at the 54. Philpott gets the call. He ran well in the opening quarter, but he was stopped by Brian Bonner right there, number 90. Not a bad beginning. 80% for 129 yards and a couple of touchdowns.
Well, he seems to be obviously a lot more comfortable with the offense this week. You know, he didn't get a lot of time in training camp. He came in late and didn't play in part of an exhibition game. So, you know, really this is still almost his exhibition season right here, but he certainly looks more comfortable tonight.
On second and long, Austin out of the cover. Trevathan couldn't bring it home. Corey Dowden was covering on number 77 for the Lions that time. Gordon?
Well, more bad news in the BC Lions sideline. Ray Alexander with what appears to be a Charlie horse to his right thigh. So it's Alexander and Fernandez out of the BC Lion lineup early in the second quarter.
Well, that becomes a problem from a depth chart perspective. Only Spencer McLennan is listed as a backup receiver, so we'll have to wait and see. Well, they have Freeman Basinger can go out and fill out at wideout as well, so they're okay for now, but they better not lose another one.
Last week they had Yo Murphy on the roster. They had 6 receivers dressed, outside receivers dressed, but he is not in the game. Luke Busaglia aims it for the far side and gets the nice little hop out of bounds. No play for the Ottawa Rough Riders, who will begin deep in Ottawa territory one more time. Busaglia does his job. The BC Lions lead it 21-1. Welcome back to Frank Clair Stadium in Ottawa, where the BC Lions lead the Rough Riders 21-1 as we head to halftime. 10:44 to go. Big weekend ahead, and we'll cover it all for you. World Cup USA 94 backstage at the World Cup live from Pasadena on Sunday beginning at 12:30 Eastern time. Get up early in Vancouver. And then the big game, Italy versus Brazil, live from Pasadena beginning at 2:30 Eastern time in the afternoon. Well, who do you like in the big one?
Oh,
Will Baggio play?
I'm on the fence on this one.
It's Baggio versus Romero. Baggio of Italy, and he has a problem with a hamstring. So we'll see if he's in the lineup for Italy come Sunday. Right now, the Ottawa Rough Riders have to get back into this ball game. Trailing by 20. Darren Joseph gets the call, and he's wrestled down by Glenn Scribner, number 72. Key series for Ottawa, trailing by 20 points on 2nd and 7 now. Out across the 25. Barrett gets a little heat late, got it away. And Climby couldn't bring it down. He caught everything last week, and he's dropped a couple here tonight.
Well, for Jock Climby, Enos Jackson is a tough guy to play against. Enos is extremely physical, will talk to you all night long, and Jock does a good job to get away from the bump as he's making his break there, and just couldn't hang on to the ball. Not a bad throw by Danny Barrett, just couldn't squeeze it.
What's Enos saying right here?
He's saying, you ain't going to catch one of me all night tonight, and that's the way Enos plays. He tries to get in your helmet, upset your rhythm, and nothing wrong with it. I didn't like playing against it, and I know Jock doesn't, but hey, that's all part of the battle.
Basinger back for Baker's kick. One hopper, and Basinger is off across the 50 and right to midfield. Again, the Lions have terrific field position.
I always found it very difficult to play against players that did a lot of talking on the field, and sometimes it upsets you. If you have a good night, of course, you don't care, and that seems to quieten them down in a hurry, but those are all some of the things that the receivers are going to have to face. The defensive guys, they like to intimidate you.
Basinger is the receiver to the near side. They've moved Flutie from the slot back out. He's the wide receiver, far side of the field. Same story, Philpott gets the call, but there is nowhere to go for Corey Philpott that time. Well, here's tonight's CFL storyline, brought to you by Dodge Trucks, reinventing the truck. And basically, it's been all BC Lions, a pretty good running game for Philpott early, and then Austin got hot and tossed for 129 yards and a couple of touchdowns. All that. And we've still got 8:59 to go till halftime.
Well, 3 very interesting drives for the Lions. All run on the first touchdown drive and then passing for the next 2. So they've mixed it up nicely.
A loss of 1. This is 2nd and 11. Austin, shotgun, stands in and fires, finding Darren Flutie. Flutie turns and grabs about 7 more yards as he's down to the 35. 20 yards for Flutie. Another first down for the Lions. David Benefield finally getting over to make the tackle.
Well, with 3 receivers to the wide side of the field, you're guaranteed single coverage on the backside with Darren Flutie, and Patrick Burke is laying off pretty much here. He's a better bump and run guy. There's no secret about that. He doesn't like to give a cushion like that, but of course that's the defense called, and Darren Flutie makes a nice adjustment to the post. Easy pitch and catch.
From the 35. Austin over the middle, and Flutie almost one-handed that one.
Well, with the injuries to Mervin Fernandez and Ray Alexander, the versatility of Darren Flutie comes in handy here. He moves from inside to outside, and Spencer McLennan moves from the bench to the inside where he's more comfortable. But if one more receiver goes down, Dave Ritchie may end up playing receiver out there.
Well, he can, Gord. He's lost 50 pounds in the offseason, so he's trimmed up enough he can play. He looked good tonight. I said, how many have you lost? He said 50. I said, that's great.
On 2nd down, here's his quarterback, Ken Austin, going for the home run toss. McLennan can't make the catch as Francis has the football and decides to carry it out of the end zone. Something to cheer about in Ottawa at last. A 20-yard return for Francis.
One of the many players who's traded teams, a BC Lion last year, this year an Ottawa Rough Rider, Francis High, to make the interception, and that's a ball in a tight game that I'm sure Ken Austin wouldn't have thrown. Totally into a crowd, no chance for McLennan to make the catch, so Francis gets the interception, and it's certainly a throw you make when it's 21-1 in your favor.
Ottawa first down. Just inside the 15. Barrett had that one tipped. The intended receiver was Horace Brooks, number 2. But things aren't going quite as well this week for the Ottawa Rough Riders.
No, I think you look back to in the first quarter when Horace Brooks made that catch, almost catch on the long post in behind Les Brown, and then Les Brown was able to strip the ball loose. You know, had he caught that, they got off to a good start. You never know. Maybe this score is a little different.
2nd and 10. Barrett pumps once, Fires to the far side, has his man. This is Mazzoli, and he is out near the 35. Big play, Ottawa. Chapman cut up to Mazzoli after a 21-yard gain. That's what they needed.
Yeah, second big catch of the night for Nick Mazzoli, and there is a little pressure on him to perform tonight with Stephon Jones out, but nice pattern here. Straightens Kelly Sims straight up the field. That's what you have to do, and then a good sharp break to the outside. A very disciplined, nice-looking pattern by Nick Mazzoli.
First down, Ottawa. Richardson gets the call. There's a big hole to the far side as Michael Richardson turns it on, and he's to the 50. 15 yards for Richardson. Europe, number 13 for the Lions, over to make the tackle.
And one of the reasons why they like to get Michael Richardson the handoff really deep in the backfield is to give him a little extra time to make the break, because here he wants to go up here, but watch how he bounces it back out to the outside, and you can only do that when you're handed the ball about 6 yards deep.
Barrett getting some heat, has Climbey in behind the cover. And Snipes was all over Danny Barrett in the Ottawa backfield. The pass was a little deep.
Pretty good arm strength here by Danny Barrett. You'll watch, he's got Snipes all over him, and he really throws that off his back foot, and he throws it about 55 yards in the air, and that has to hurt.
Barrett has been nailed a couple of times. 2nd and 10 now for Ottawa, trailing 21-1 to the BC Lions, who got off to a hot start here. More heat on Barrett, but he gets it away. Mazzoli has it intercepted. There's a penalty marker down. Jackson was covering. He might have pushed Mazzoli away. Enos Jackson is arguing his case, but I think they've got him dead to rights here.
Well, Enos created the contact just as the ball was arriving, and I'm sure that's what the officials are going to discuss now, just to see who created the contact.
Holding, Ottawa number 54. Forward pass interference, BC number 29. Repeat, second down.
So the holding call against Ottawa made no difference to what happened down at the 30-yard line. They'll replay the down, which is still 2nd and 10 for the Rough Riders. Walter Stanley, number 80, near side. It's Horace Brooks flanked to the far side of the field. 2nd and 10 facing Danny Barrett. Here comes the heat. Richardson in traffic, and he makes the catch. "21 yards for Michael Richardson." So the Riders dig themselves out of a big hole.
And here's Richardson here. You'll watch him get all the way down the field, and the good thing that Danny Barrett does is really he looks off Tom Europe in the middle there. See? Now Europe can't get over to help out his linebacker, Brian Ford, and that's a great catch by Richardson.
On first down, Barrett has to hustle. Chater's in pursuit. Barrett gets to the outside, looking for a block from Stanley. He didn't get it. And Gordon came up to make the tackle on Danny Barrett. He'll move the sticks almost halfway to a first down.
Danny Barrett, as he so often does at the right time, decides to run with the football, and hot pursuit from Dave Chater's number 74, but Barrett able to get away from him. Good block there by Darren Joseph to totally free Barrett, but strategically he is a great runner.
2nd and 5. Riders at the 23. Barrett swings it off. Richardson a one-handed catch, and then fights his way for the first down. Nice little move on Tom Europe, who appears to have Richardson dead to rights, but Richardson stutter-stepped and got around.
And one of the reasons why Michael Richardson is so valuable is catches like these to keep drives going in crucial situations. Hey, they need to score here, and that is some kind of one-handed catch.
7 yards. 1st and 10. Rough Riders now set up at the 17 of BC. Ottawa trailing 21-1. Barrett looking for Climbey. He has it. Touchdown. Fourth touchdown of the season for Jack Climbey. Only his first tonight. He had 3 last week.
Well, he's got a way to go to match last week's performance, but talk about a crucial drive under pressure. Danny Barrett leads his offense all the way down the field and gets them back into this game, and not surprising rather, that it's the CFL's Offensive Player of the Week that caps off that drive with the touchdown reception. Finally gets in behind Enos Jackson, 29, very similar to the Mike Trevathan touchdown catch. And Danny Barrett, the key, puts lots of airtime in this to hump it over the top of Jackson. Climbing with the good catch.
Baker adds the point after, and it's 21-8. Climbing 4 touchdowns in a game and a half. Not bad at all. One more look at Jock Climbing in behind the cover as we take a break at Ottawa on CFL Live.
Let me know when it's done.
Jock Climbing from Queen's University, having a great start to 1994, and he gets the Ottawa Rough Riders on the board.
Yeah, great touchdown reception by Jock Climbing. But one thing that Danny Barrett sees when he comes up to the center is no safety in there. So, hey, he's got Climbing here, Jackson here. Now, they want to go to the corner, but he ends up going in there at the end because Danny Barrett saw that was where the open spot was. And he said, look, I'm going to throw it to the open area, and I know my receiver's good enough to make the adjustment. Climbing turns around at the last second, locates the football, and makes a super touchdown catch.
Baker's kickoff is not deep. This will be a jump ball. Hocking made the catch. Number 90, Doug Hocking, a reserve linebacker, makes a great play to hang on to it for the BC Lions. Nice little scoring drive. 96 yards in 7 plays. And Climbing has a 17-yard touchdown.
Yeah, a lot of Michael Richardson in that drive, too. And that's, of course, what you're going to see a lot from Ottawa this year. Now the defense for Ottawa has to tighten it down. Their offense has been rekindled. They trail by 13, but the defense has to do its best now to try and shut down Ken Austin. Tough assignment.
Began with an interception by Francis. Here's Austin, who is right and right on target for Ray Alexander, who apparently is A-OK. Now hang on, they're ruling a no catch down there, suggesting that Alexander trapped that one. And that's exactly what the indication is. So it'll be 2nd and 10 when we return to Frank Clair Stadium in Ottawa. You're watching the CFL Live. 3-minute warning is up.
Back at Frank Clair Stadium with Stephon Jones out with a bad shoulder. How bad and how long?
Well, we don't know right now. We're going to go for an MRI Monday, and we'll know exactly what the problem is. So right now we're just trying to work on it and get it better.
We knew the Ottawa Rough Riders were expecting a much tougher test from BC than it got last week against Shreveport. Do you expect it to be this tough?
Well, you know, BC has a good team. We have a good team too. I think things just we started off a little slow. It looks like we're getting it on track now. So it's going to be it's going to go down to the wire, I think.
A bold prediction, Stephon. Thanks very much for talking to us. Speedy recovery.
All right, thanks a lot, Gordon.
Back to the live action, 2nd and 10. BC Lions, Austin shotgun. Near side look for Darren Flutie, number 82. There was tight coverage on Flutie and tight coverage as well upfield.
Yeah, Brett Young's in very good position there. He's going to try and go back to the corner, take it right over the top, but Austin throws it to the outside, hoping that Flutie can make the adjustment. Boy, we've seen that a lot from both quarterbacks tonight, throwing it to open areas, hoping that their receivers can make the adjustment and find the football. And well, it tells me that the quarterbacks have a lot of confidence in their receivers when they do that.
Lou Pasaglia on 3rd down for BC. He gets across the 30 and sails this one. Horace Brooks away from one, draws a flag. There's another flag as Brooks is stopped in his tracks by Charles Gordon near the 20. 50-yard punt for Lou Pasaglia. Lou is playing in his 288th CFL game tonight. That ties him with Ron Lancaster for number 1 on the all-time list.
Quite a career for Lou.
Lou, how many miles kicked would you figure?
Oh gosh, what a great trivia question that would be. I wish I could give you the answer.
Yeah, I won't even take a run at that one, but He holds just about every kicking record in football. All-time points leader in pro football.
Yeah, from that last punt, it seems though there's a lot of life left in the old leg. I shouldn't call it the old leg.
Well, it's a 40-year-old leg now, and Julio Caravata, who's been around backing up for a while, is thinking that Louis may not retire for a while.
Interesting to see what Danny Barrett does right here. Danny Barrett calls about 90 to 95% of his own plays, but from his own 9-yard line with time winding down here in the second quarter, does he want to try and get his team further back into this game or play it safe?
Penalties against the Rough Riders make this drive begin near the 9-yard line, and Darren Joseph carries out across the 15. Stay with us at halftime. We've got an action-packed show lined up with Gord Miller. The update from Sports Control. Matt Dunnigan, what a night he had, plus the Hall of Fame inductees for that big dinner and banquet and ceremony in Hamilton on the weekend. Baker Clements and Gene Gaines going into the Hall of Fame. We'll have the whole story for you at halftime with Gord Miller. Gain is 7. This is 2nd and 3 Ottawa. Joseph again. And 2:13 on the clock. That gets the Ottawa Rough Riders out from the shadow of the goalpost.
Yeah, what a difference a year makes for the Ottawa Rough Riders with their running game. A year ago, they couldn't have done that. They just only averaged about 75 yards a game on the ground, but now have the luxury of being able to grind it out from deep in their own end on the ground. And what a difference it's made to this team.
First down, Ottawa. And it's Joseph again. Big pileup, not much running room for Darren Joseph that time. Graduate of the Ottawa Sooners, rushed for 171 yards last term.
Yeah, last week in the opener here, kicked in with 42 of his own. You know, Michael Richardson gets most of the work, obviously, but when he can contribute on the ground favorably, what a plus that becomes for this offense.
I should say he rushed for 171 yards in his pro debut. That was one game for Darren Joseph against BC in '92. Barrett with time, has a man open. Stanley can't make the catch because there was an outstanding defensive play by a former Ottawa Rough Rider, 26, Charles Gordon.
You're going to see a lovely pattern by Walter Stanley. Watch the 3 hard steps into the post he's going to make right here. There it is. And then bang, he's got the hips turned, he's to the outside, and the only thing that keeps this from being a reception is the ball hangs in the air too long. Danny Barrett just hung it up there and allowed Charles Gordon, who was beaten pretty soundly, to be able to react and make a great defensive play, but had that ball been there quicker, would have been solid play for the offense.
Minute 31 till halftime, and Baker is forced to kick it away. Basinger deep for BC, taking it at the 40-yard line. Markers down one more time as Basinger is down near the 47. Leading the way for Ottawa, Gary Lewis. So a little time for Ken Austin to work with here until halftime.
BC number 90. First down.
This one's for an illegal block.
Penalty against Hocking chases the Lions back to the 35. 9 of 16 for 149 and a couple of touchdowns for Kent Austin.
But to the Ottawa Rough Rider credit, they had 3 terrific drives in the first quarter, but in this second quarter, Ottawa's done a much better job on defense, playing the receivers a little tighter and a little tougher.
Basinger is in for Fernandez. Had one wide out. Alexander making the catch there, is back in the game at the other. Fernandez was shaken up in the first half. Ray Alexander, an All-Canadian in '91. 1,600 yards receiving that year. 14 yards in the previous catch, and the Lions have a first down with 1:04 to go till halftime. Austin with shotgun, lots of time. Looked over the middle. Trevathan drew 4 tacklers there, but made the catch. 16 yards for Mike Trevathan, and they're getting closer to Louis range here. Shotgun again. Austin under the cover this time, and Flutie couldn't squeeze it. Brett Young covering on Darren Flutie. It'll be 2nd and 10 BC. 45 seconds till halftime.
Well, Kent Austin obviously has been working hard to find his timing with his receivers, because that ball was in the air before Darren Flutie made his final cut to the outside. And well, you can only do that when you're comfortable with the receivers and what kind of patterns they're going to run. Should have made the catch.
Basinger to the near side. Alexander far side of the field. 45 seconds on the clock. Kent Austin, the BC Lion quarterback. On 2nd and 10, Alexander the catch, and steps out of bounds in front of Patrick Burke. 42 seconds till the half. Richie would like maybe 3 more to feel a little comfortable here.
Yeah, watching Patrick Burke, it really tells me that he respects the deep threat of a Ray Alexander, because the blitz was on, no question, man-to-man coverage, and his forte is bump and run, and yet he chose to stay off and lay off from Ray Alexander, not come up and challenge him.
Third down, less than a yard to go. Numbers on Alexander, fairly impressive. Austin himself, and that'll be a BC first down with 39 seconds till halftime. Lions in the lead, 21-8. Austin engineered a 21-0 lead at one stage early in the game with touchdowns on 3 successive drives. Austin got a little heat as he let that one go for Flutie. He slides, makes the catch, and he's inside the 5-yard line. Darren Flutie slipped out of the backfield and made the catch. So 23 seconds to go and a chance to go for 6 points here for BC.
Yeah, and you're going to see Brett Young, 23 there, falls down, and they go to his own coverage, but there's nobody back in the deep third. As Andre Francis is running with Basinger, leaves a huge hole for Darren Flutie just to sit in. Austin sees him and finds it, but pretty loose coverage when you get down in the goal line area by the Ottawa secondary.
Kent Austin in discussion with Dave Ritchie. Austin 12 of 23 for 190 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions in his BC debut last week.
You know, I don't know about you, partner, but I find it very difficult tonight with so many players in this game having played for the opposite team that you're never quite sure. Like Andre Francis, yeah, he does play for Ottawa now,
but he's been everywhere else.
I kind of still think of him as a BC Lion from a year ago, and it becomes a little difficult.
Likewise, Les Brown, who's made 1 tour around the league, stopped here, has been in BC for his 2nd season now. All right, 23 seconds till halftime. Lions set up with a 1st and goal to go at the 5-yard line. Philpott over the top, and he's not quite there. He's down to the 1.
Well, usually the jump comes when you're on about the 2-yard line, but Corey Philpott obviously felt that he could get in, and he almost did from way out.
Benefield comes up with a big play there.
I don't know. I thought Austin was in there, but the referees felt that obviously he did not break the plane of the goal line, so decision time. And well, I think if you're Dave Ritchie, you try and bury the other club right here.
Here it is, 16 seconds on the clock till the half. 3rd and goal to go. 1-yard line, touchdown. Sean Millington, I should say.
And I think that's a better choice at 6'3" and 230 pounds. He's my guy when you only need 1 yard. Here's Sean Millington right here, and nothing fancy about this. You're 230 pounds. You just blast your way into the end zone. Bit of a lead block from Philpott, not much. But when you're Remy Trudel and you're only about 5'8" and 170 pounds, that is no match at the goal line.
BC into a 28-8 lead on the touchdown by Sean Millington.
Well, you know, and the psyche of this game is you always want to go into the locker room feeling good about how you're playing. And, you know, obviously for the BC Lions, they have to feel pretty good about the offense. 28 points and the defense playing well. For Ottawa, they tried to make a comeback and get into this one, but, you know, saw their defense just manhandled here in the last minute and a half of the second quarter. So BC obviously in at a high, and Ottawa has to regroup.
11 seconds till halftime, and Ken Austin has had a hot hand in the first half.
Boy, that's the look in his eye that you saw for so many years with Saskatchewan Roughriders. Didn't see that look last week. He was uncomfortable, wasn't quite sure of what he was doing, but now tonight, there's the 8-play, 75-yard drive. And
yeah, quick.
With the hurry-up offense, did it in only 1 minute and 9 seconds, but the look in Ken Austin's eyes tells me that he is very comfortable.
And hang on, last week it was a little glazed, that look in his eyes. He had his bell rung in the first quarter and really missed a lot of the first half. Coming back in the second half to engineer the Lions' win over the Blue Bombers. But he had to sit on the sidelines and clear the cobwebs a little bit with BC Place. So 5 seconds to run out the clock. And Adam Rita will try and regroup. A little misfortune for the Ottawa Roughriders. A short kick recovered by the Lions on a couple of missed opportunities for Ottawa. The Lions went in and scored on that sequence as well. That was touchdown number 3.
Now you saw the face of Adam Reid on the sidelines, and visually he certainly did not look upset or frustrated, and that's one of the things that we discussed with him in our meeting yesterday, was the fact that he never wants to let his players see a frustrated side of him on the sidelines when things aren't going well, because then that will translate into probably their play. So, you know, he's burning on the inside, but won't let anybody see it.
It's halftime in Ottawa. The Lions have a 20-point lead on the Ottawa Roughriders. You're watching CFL Live.
It's time now, everybody, for the
is the score in favor of the BC Lions over the Ottawa Roughriders after 30 minutes of play at Frank Clair Stadium. Hi everybody, welcome to the CFL Live Halftime Report. I'm Gord Miller. The big story from week 2 of the CFL season, no question, the performance of Matt Dunnigan and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers last night in the Grey Cup rematch against the Edmonton Eskimos. Dunnigan breaks Danny Barrett's record for passing yards in a single game, 713 yards. He breaks the old record by 112 and shatters his old team record by nearly 250 yards. Alfred Jackson, the big receiver in the game, had 308 yards catching, and that is the second highest total in CFL history. Jackson becomes only the second receiver in league history to catch 300 yards worth of passes in one game. The other was Hal Patterson. So Matt Dunnigan with the big night spoke to us from his home in Winnipeg after shattering the record set by Danny Barrett, who broke the mark that had been broken by Sam Echeverry some 34 years earlier. Matt, we knew the Bombers were anxious to get back at the Eskimos after last year's Grey Cup game, but really 713 yards. Did you ever think that those kind of numbers were possible?
Well, you don't think about those things. You think about going out there and winning a football game and do what it takes to win. We're in a situation where we got in a groove there in the second quarter and third quarter, and Edmonton kept pushing us there in the second half, so we had to stay within our game plan and keep pushing the football down the field. And AJ was unconscious, and David Williams had an unbelievable game, and offensive line kept the pressure off the quarterback, and everything else is kind of history. You know, I think we could have gone over 800 total yards with that. I think we had 792, and it was just a great performance by everybody.
So if you take the slow start into consideration, is 800 yards out of the question?
We're just, I don't know, Gord. We're just trying to win football games, and we tried to rebound from last week's performance against BC and try to execute when it counted the most. And we capitalized on our opportunities last night. It was a good thing we did because Edmonton got hot there in the third quarter, and we started putting some pressure on us and closing the cushion, and we had to continue to push the ball down the field. And who knows? We're just going to go out there and try to win football games and let everything else take care of itself.
Until last night, your best game in the CFL came last year against the Eskimos. 3 touchdowns passing, 3 touchdowns rushing. What is it about the Eskimos that brings out the best in you?
Well, that's a good question. I can't put my finger on it. I really don't know. I think it doesn't bring. I think it gets the Winnipeg Blue Bombers fired up. You know, I'm not out there alone. You know, I got an outstanding offensive line, the best in the league, I believe, and Chris Wilby and Miles Garrell on the bookends, and you know, those guys are setting the tone and making things happen, giving me the opportunity to distribute the ball to our receiving core. And we got Blaze Bryant, Chris Johnstone. You know, I'll get all these names in there. These guys are just ready to rock and roll when we play the Edmonton Eskimos.
Matt, congratulations. Thanks for talking to us.
Thank you, Gord.
Another of Matt Dunnigan's old teams, the BC Lions, leading Ottawa 28-8. The CFL Live halftime report continues in just a moment from Frank Clark Stadium in Ottawa. BC by 20 at the half over the Ottawa Roughriders in the second week of this CFL season. One of the highlights of week 2 is the Hall of Fame induction ceremonies, which will be held tomorrow night in Hamilton. BC assistant coach Gene Gaines, one of the 4 men who will be inducted tomorrow night. Better known as The Undertaker, Bill Baker's career began in 1968 with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. He later went on to play for the BC Lions, where he was named the CFL's top defensive player in 1976. In all, he was a 4-time CFL All-Star, and he went on to become the league's president in 1988.
He was the kind of guy that when he went on the field, there was only one program that he was following, and that was, A, to disrupt the offensive game plan and to get to the quarterback.
Well, Bill Baker, the Undertaker. I think when he was in Vancouver with the BC Lions, I think he enjoyed probably his best years, particularly the 1976 season. He was outstanding. He probably was the outstanding defensive football player in the league at that time.
Tom Clements came out of Notre Dame in 1975 and quickly made an impression with the Ottawa Roughriders. He was the East Division's top rookie in 1975, and in 1976 he directed Ottawa's dramatic come-from-behind win over Saskatchewan in the Grey Cup game. Clements played for 4 CFL teams and finished his career as the league's second passer all time.
We always felt that if we were on the field within a score of winning it, Tommy was the guy to lead us to it.
His strengths on the field were, I guess, his ability to remain calm in the storm. And the end result was Tom being able to recognize defenses and in the huddle being able to predict what he felt that defensive package or what that defensive scheme would be on the very next play.
Gene Gaines has been associated with the CFL for more than 30 years as an assistant coach and a player. He had a 16-year playing career, was a 4-time Grey Cup champion, and a 5-time CFL All-Star.
We all knew that Gene was in the backfield and he would always back us up. And I think back in the 68 and 69 Grey Cups, we had a good group of athletes, and Gene was one of them.
And he was a hitter. He would take the head off of anybody coming through the hole or any receiver catching the ball. And I know we'd be in situations where when you hit the pile and there was an impact and you'd say, holy smoke, who was that? And you'd always look around, there'd be Gene. He loved to hit, and he wasn't a big guy at that.
Second half is underway, and that's the kickoff return by Freeman Basinger as the BC Lions end up with fine field position one more time, a 21-yard return, and the Lions are out near the 50-yard line. Story of 2 quarterbacks. Kent Austin is winning the battle with Danny Barrett so far this night, 13 of 20 for 220 yards and a couple of touchdowns. Barrett has 1 touchdown and only 117 yards passing so far. And Austin gets the ball first as the Lions take a rather impressive lead into the second half. Basinger makes the catch. 28-8, BC leading Ottawa. And the numbers favor The BC Lions in virtually every category. Net yards a key area there, Leaf. 302 to 172.
Well, it's truly a solid half offensively for the BC Lions. I think the time of possession that they were ahead really indicative of the score right now, 28-8, and everything in BC's favor and in their control.
Second down. Pitch to Philpott. And he fights his way close to first down territory. Derek McCready made the stop, number 75. And Philpott appeared to be stopped, but squirted away.
Well, I think that's pretty indicative of how BC wants to run their offense. 60% pass, 40% run. That's about it. You're 33, 66 in about that area. Ken Austin, obviously his forte is to throw it, but they certainly did mix in the run effectively as well.
Particularly on the first scoring drive, the Lions were into a 21-0 lead in the first quarter, and the first drive was almost all run with Millington and Philpott in particular.
Well, I think that was dictated as much by the defense that Ottawa played. I mean, they just invited BC to run at them, and BC accommodated with shoving it down their throat for an easy opening touchdown.
3rd and inches for Kent Austin and the BC Lions. And he makes it easily with no penalty markers anywhere. Austin good on 13 of 21 for a couple of touchdowns. One to Basinger and one to Mike Trevathan in the opening quarter.
And this is a crucial series to open the second half for the Ottawa Rough Riders on defense. You know, they're down by 20 points, and their offense is a ball control style of offense. It's not explosive. They can't come back in a hurry. Adam Rita knows that. And, you know, I think this is a crucial series. They can't let BC score another touchdown and get out 35-8.
Austin all kinds of time. Basinger on the line, and he couldn't make the catch. Coverage by Andre Francis. A little contact down there, no markers anywhere. Francis going for the football.
Well, I think there was contact. Austin screaming about it, but the contact occurred out of bounds where he threw the ball. You're going to see at the bottom of your screen, yeah, there is the contact, but, well, that's close.
On the line.
Oh, what the heck? It's 28-8. Don't call it.
Yeah, good point right now.
Really?
2nd and 10. Lions just outside the Ottawa 50. A little heat on Austin. He got it away. And he'll have another first down. Ray Alexander made the catch. 16 yards the game. Alexander 4 for 62 in the opening half.
Yeah, it's been a tough night for Patrick Burke. He's in pretty good position there, but the ball is thrown so perfectly that he has no chance to try and close that last little 1-yard gap and get his hand in there. And, you know, although Alexander hasn't caught the big ball against Patrick Burke, he's been able to do pretty much what he wants in the medium range patterns.
1st and 10 for the Lions at the 35. Austin for Flutie. Nice catch, and Flutie is nailed at the 10-yard line. Remy Trudel up from his safety spot to make the tackle on Darren Flutie, but not before he grabbed the ball and gained 26 yards.
And the recognition of Kent Austin that Ottawa is in a zone coverage. You'll watch Darren Flutie. He clears the linebacker. Well, you're not going to see him 48 Benefield. You will there. And as soon as he clears him, the ball is in the air and he's in the seam. Nobody can get over in time. And, you know, that's great recognition with the quarterback and the receiver seeing the same thing.
Flutie's 5th catch gets him over 100 yards on the night and sets the BC Lions up. 1st and goal to go at the 10. Austin looked for Mike Trevathan.
Well, after suffering a thigh bruise in the first half, Ray Alexander came back to open the second half series, but now he suffered a rib injury and is sidelined once more. So BC's receiver problems are back to where they were.
And Mervyn Fernandez already out of the BC lineup. He will not be back tonight with a groin pull. Lions with the lead at 28-8. 2nd and goal to go at the Ottawa 10. Austin has the touchdown. Freeman Basinger. A couple for Basinger as Ken Austin has a hot hand for the BC Lions against this Ottawa defense.
And once again, the key is time to throw. Look at this, no protection. Jesse Small comes in there late, but plenty of time for Kent Austin to pick out a receiver. And even though Fernandez and Alexander are out, the replacements in Mervyn Fernandez and Spencer McLennan are doing the job, and that's a pretty easy drive to open this second half, and a drive that could put the nail in the coffin of the Ottawa Rough Riders tonight.
It's 34-8 right now. BC with a 21-0 lead at one stage. They've increased it to 35-8 with Lupus Aglia's point after touch.
Yeah, Freeman Basinger, that's really a special teams guy, and of course a backup receiver, getting a chance to play tonight. And here he is out on Andre Francis, and watch how hard he comes to the inside, and then boom, back out to the outside. And you're going to see, really, for Andre Francis, is so tough to cover there. The hips are turned, and the quick move back to the outside, and no contest as Kent Austin has yet another touchdown pass tonight.
10:52 to play in quarter number 3, and the Lions have controlled this ball game from the outset. 35-8 as it stands right now on CFL Live from Ottawa.
You know, I kind of had a feeling this might happen tonight. Ottawa, really, it wasn't a true indication of their team last week against Shreveport. I think they knew that. The real test would be tonight, but also BC, you knew that they were going to be better too.
Another short kick. And a penalty marker down. Platney grabbed it. 8 plays, 62 yards in a time of 4:08. Basinger, 2 touchdowns on the night.
Yeah, and all BC's scoring drives tonight have been lengthy ones. A nice hurry-up job before halftime, and every drive.
BC, number 00, declined. First down.
And why not? That's the best field position that the Rough Riders have been able to muster so far tonight, Leaf. At the 52 of Ottawa. Barrett has time and a man wide open. Jock Clammy makes the catch. And Angelo Snipes made the tackle after a 15-yard gain. Angelo, a couple of sacks last week, including one that preserved the victory over the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. 6 tackles, 2 sacks.
Yeah, and for those numbers, voted lineman of the week in the CFL. We have all the weekly winners playing here tonight. Kelly Sims was the defensive back of the week.
Stanley makes the catch. This will be another Ottawa first down. Enos Jackson, number 29, on Stanley, forcing him back. Adam Rita had a plan. He had it all scripted out. It just hasn't worked the way he thought it might here tonight.
Well, it's a tough test for him. Kent Austin and their offense totally cranked up tonight, and the Ottawa defense just has not been up to the task.
They spot the ball a little short of the first down. And some early movement. Tough to tell what initiated that. 35-8, BC leading Ottawa. 9:31 to go, third quarter. Here's the call. It's a procedure infraction against Ottawa. So that'll spin to second down. And about 6, 2nd and 6.
Moves it back 5, second down and close to 7. Ball is at the 40.
Riders at the BC 40. Barrett needs to get to the end zone on this drive. Far side of the field. On target for Nick Mazzoli. He's had a pretty good night. That'll be a first down. 12 yards for Mazzoli in front of Les Brown.
Yeah, it's apparent that the BC Lion defense with a 35-8 lead has been very content on this Ottawa drive to just lay back, rush only 4 people, drop everybody off and play an extremely soft zone. There you see Les Brown so deep in his zone coverage he can't get close to Mazzoli.
Ottawa first down at the 30. Barrett puts it up. Richardson is knocked down. And I'm not so sure it was intended for Richardson or Walter Stanley.
Third pass appeared intended for Michael Richardson.
Richardson shaken up.
And Michael Richardson is injured on the play.
can see what happened to Richardson here, Leaf.
Well, out of the backfield, the blitz is coming. They bring 7 men for the BC Lions, and obviously Michael Richardson right here, and he's going to go upfield. Tommy Europe will come over. That's his responsibility in the blitz to take the first man out of the backfield. And the ball, Danny Barrett had to throw it really before the pattern developed because of the pressure, and we'll see just exactly. I don't know, it looks like the knee just gave out because there wasn't contact made, and looked like Michael Richardson just obviously went down on his own.
Tough night for Danny Barrett. Tough night for Adam Rita and the entire Ottawa Rough Rider team. Down by a bunch. It's 35-8, BC leading the way. This is CFL Live from Ottawa.
The Ottawa Rough Riders hurt early in the season by injuries with LeBrian Robinson out, Stephon Jones, and now Michael Richardson here in the third quarter, and very difficult to tell exactly what happened. No contact was made, and just the way he went down, it almost looks like maybe he pulled a hamstring. They really weren't working on his knee at the commercial break that we took. And I don't know, I mean, it looks like a sniper got him from the stands because nobody touched him.
He just went down, didn't he?
Yeah.
Like a rock.
And they're bringing the card out. He's having enormous difficulty getting off the field. And boy, early in the year when you based your offense really totally around one player, to have this happen is devastating.
That was the plan. Give the ball to Michael, a 2-time CFL rushing champion with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And it worked very well in game 1.
Well, it worked to perfection. I'm sure Gord will have a report shortly as to the extent of this injury, but this does not look good.
Michael Richardson, 33 rushing yards, another almost 30 receiving.
Well, I think that's a direct reflection of the defense he's playing against. You know, can't say enough about this BC defense, which, as we spoke earlier, was a bit of a question mark. They have performed really well.
This is 2nd and 10. Barrett goes for the home run toss and has it picked off by Enos Jackson in the end zone. Walter Stanley was the intended receiver. You look at the way the Riders line up for this one tonight, too, Leaf. They've got Horace Brooks playing his first game in relief of Stephon Jones, who's on the injury list. Walter Stanley, who was 0 for 0 in receiving last week. Well, they really don't have outside threats.
Now, the pressure came from Virgil Robertson right up the middle, and Danny Barrett had no choice. He has to throw this one up and hope that Walter Stanley can make some kind of circus catch, but unfortunately Enos Jackson comes up with his 2nd interception of the year, and what an addition he has been.
Circus left town.
Yeah, you know, that's tough. You've got to take a chance. You're down 35-8. I mean, there's no sense in, you know, eating the ball in the sack. You might as well throw it up for grabs and hope your guy can make the play.
Lions take over with a first down at the 25. Austin fakes to Philpott. Throwing on the run near side, and has Spencer McLennan. And that'll be enough for a first down. Fred Young on the tackle, number 23.
I'll tell you, Spencer McLennan, number 16, has been with the BC Lions for 4 years now, to the Okanagan Juniors, and he is a valuable guy for the Lions, a backup inside receiver who always does a good job when he gets into a game, and he's a tireless worker on the special teams, but he really makes a contribution. You just don't hear about him much.
Playing in his 51st CFL game tonight, here's Corey Philpott, and he's out across the 50-yard line. Philpott has had a very impressive night in his first start of the season for the Lions. He was nicked in training camp and just got back into the lineup tonight. Near side, Freeman Basinger. Flutie is the wide receiver, far side of the field, so that means Alexander remains on the bench. Philpott again for a couple on 2nd and 2. Ran into Derek McCready. .284 yards for Kent Austin now. 3 touchdowns, 1 early interception.
And I think there are some definite reasons why he is having a good night. Number one, he's getting lots of time to throw. His offensive line and running backs are doing a super job protecting for him. And number two, he's had another week to get accustomed to a new offense. John Payne, the offensive coordinator, has put in. And obviously get used to the new guys around him. And it's showing tonight. He's very comfortable out there.
Third down. Less than a yard to go. Austin has been in this situation and converted earlier this evening. He keeps himself. No markers down. It'll be a BC first down. The drive continues.
Third down.
In 7 years with Saskatchewan, Kent Austin passed for over 26,000 yards. 152 touchdowns.
Yeah, I guess the highlight too was the 1989 Grey Cup when he led the Rough Riders over the Hamilton Tigers 43-40 and what was arguably one of the finest Grey Cups of all time.
Some kind of ball game that was. Austin with time, wide open. Here's Flutie, and yards after making the reception. Flutie is down to the 35. Brian Bonner got back from his linebacking spotter to make the tackle. 19 yards for Darren Flutie, who's having a fine night.
Yeah, and he's working hard on Patrick Burke. You know, when you have the time to make about 3 moves like he did and still have your quarterback get you the ball, you know one thing, that your offensive line is doing a whale of a job protecting the quarterback. Austin looked to the strong side where he had 3 receivers and was able to look to his 4th receiver in that pattern and make the completion. That means Ottawa is getting absolutely no pressure at all.
Darren has 6 receptions for 140 yards.
Wow, he's a 2-time 1,000-yard receiver as well. 79 catches last year. Kind of maybe the forgotten guy along with Trevathan in this pretty illustrious receiving group. But is he handy to have?
Absolutely. Absolutely. 2 1,000-yard seasons, and last year he was over 100 yards receiving 3 times. Lion drive continues. They lead at 35-8. From the 35, this is Philpott. Tries the outside, and he's down to the 30-yard line. Stopped by Lewis, number 21. Some adjustments being made in that secondary for the Ottawa Rough Riders. 13 for 89 yards for Philpott, and the first touchdown of the ball game.
Yeah, and he also makes some great contributions with kickoff returns. One of the best in the league at doing that. So he adds a lot of versatility rather to this team.
5 yards in the previous play. 2nd and 5 here with 5:14 to go till 3/4 time. Austin looks to the corner and overthrows his intended receiver. Flutie looked for a call as he was the intended receiver, but nothing was forthcoming.
Well, John, you know what's interesting to me? You look at the Western Conference right now in the CFL and just how many good teams there are. I know it's only week 2, but I mean, you look at BC and obviously they're going to be in the hunt, and you know Calgary is, and of course Edmonton lost last night, but they're going to be in the hunt. Las Vegas looks strong, so my oh my, what an interesting year it's going to be out west.
Here's how it looks right now. It could be a real scramble out there.
Well, it's Saskatchewan, of course, with the big win at home last week over Calgary. I mean, this is a tough division.
Ottawa Rough Riders force the Lions into a field goal situation. Lupusagli is wide, so it's only 1 more to the Lion total now. Lou missed that one. So it's 36-8. BC leading Ottawa. This is CFL Live. Ottawa Rough Riders. First down. Out across the 50 at the 53. Barrett has Brooks coming in. Great burst of speed as he gets inside the 35. Stopped there by Charles Gordon. 22 yards for Horace Brooks.
Yeah, he's got some speed. He's a rookie from Alabama State in the lineup replacing Stephon Jones tonight, but a pretty nifty move right there to get around Les Brown. And boy, more than anything else with the Ottawa Rough Riders now are just need to put a couple of good drives together. I don't know if they get back in this one, but they need to start feeling good about themselves again.
Barrett couldn't make the quarterback draw work there unless there was an exchange mix-up with the center.
Yeah, the most improved player on the BC Lions a year ago, number 72, Glenn Scrivener, made the tackle. That's not a bad-looking front three. You know, Andrew Stewart's new, Dave Chainers is new. They got Doug Peterson, who fractured his foot last week in a little altercation with Miles Gurrell. But, you know, they've got some good Canadian talent there. Kent Warnock is backing up this group.
Scrivener celebrated his 27th birthday yesterday. Here's Barrett. Second down in a bunch. Looking to the corner. Climby wrestling for it. Draws a penalty flag from Kelly Sims.
Danny Barrett.
What do you think of this one? There was definitely contact down there.
Well, you get a great look at it here, and, you know, a very physical matchup when you play against Kelly Sims. Jock Climby knew that, but, boy, there was a lot of bumping going on all the way down the field, and, you know, that is just a little bit too much contact. You know, it's one thing to be aggressive, but I think, you know, that's a little overdoing it.
Forward pass interference. BC number 3, a 10-yard penalty. First down.
Likely a good call, only the 10-yard penalty. They gave Sims a 10-yard penalty for that.
Well, he's a good one. You know, he had a key interception late in the game last week to help preserve that win, and he had a knockdown in the air that resulted in another interception.
First and 10 to go for Ottawa at the BC 27. Barrett with time. Markers are down again, and no one was in the end zone. Might have been Kelly Sims one more time.
Well, you know they want to be physical with Jock Climby, but now this is taking it to the extreme here. A good move by Climby to get away, and actually probably a smart penalty by Kelly Sims. He was going to be beaten and beaten badly, so he said, heck, try and get away with it. He didn't. 2 interference penalties in a row.
No argument there. Sims and Brown argued the previous play, but not this time.
Well, I think defensive backs more and more around the league are going to be aware of the shiftiness of a Jock Climby. You know, he's pretty smooth out there. He looked great last week, and even in a losing cause tonight, he looks awfully smooth.
2:22 to go, third quarter. It is first and 10. Rough Riders at the BC 15. Barrett to the corner. And they're battling down there again. Climby and Tom Europe. No catch, but there is another flag.
Well, it should be 3 in a row on the BC Lions secondary. Young Tom Europe came over and he had the coverage. And you can call it face guarding, whatever you want, but he created the contact, and probably because the ball was a little underthrown, but nevertheless, you know, if you create the contact when it's in the air, it's your fault. Oh, they call face guarding right there. See the hand go up, and the contact, the push.
Yeah, they got everything there.
3 in a row.
And the Ottawa Rough Riders are set up. First and goal to go at the BC 1. Barrett himself, and he has the touchdown. Take that, says Dan Barrett. It's only one. Or at least one back. Got to start somewhere, though.
That was a pretty animated spike. I have a feeling that they're doing some talking out there and trying to take Danny out of his game, and that was his way of just saying, hey, you know, we can get it done too.
Quarterbacks don't spike all that often, do they?
They try not to get the defense upset, but obviously there's a little emotion in this one with Barrett playing against his old team.
Penalty marker was for offside against the Lions. Side view of Barrett into the end zone. Just cut there. Yeah.
That may be the hardest pass he threw tonight. I don't know. No, I didn't mean that.
He'll be in trouble. We got Danny next week.
I didn't mean it. You know, he didn't want to talk yesterday about playing against BC tonight and what that meant to him personally. He wanted to just focus on the game, that it was just another team on the schedule, and he didn't want to try and get caught up in any of this. So many players from either team playing for new teams.
He wanted to talk about winning, not revenge. Baker with the 15th point of the night for the Ottawa Rough Riders. The Lions have 36, and that's where it stands with 1:43 to go, third quarter. You're watching CFL Live from Ottawa. CFL Live from Ottawa, the Rough Riders trailing the Lions 36-15. Following the game, the TSN Turning Point brought to you by new low-gloss Armor All Protectant. The protectant that leaves a rich, deep, low-gloss finish.
Back in Ottawa, where the Rough Riders are pleased about the touchdown but concerned about Michael Richardson. A strained right quadricep is very severe, and it may keep him out for a month or more. Now, most of the time, a strained quadricep will make you limp a little bit. But in this case, Richardson was unable even to lift his right leg. Danny Barrett had one a few years ago, kept him out for a couple of months. He's in the dressing room right now, but there's a grave concern on the Ottawa sideline.
And that's what happened to Michael Richardson fairly early in the third quarter in Ottawa. Riders tried a short kickoff. It was grabbed rather neatly by Sean Millington to set the BC Lions up with super field position one more time, just shy of the 45. First down for Kent Austin and the Lions, leading 36-15. Behind Darren Flutie that time. Brian Bonner got a hand on it. We'll check out the rest of week 2 in the CFL. The Calgary Stampeders look for their first win. They're in Baltimore. Toronto at Shreveport for a steamy night in Louisiana. And Saskatchewan at Vegas could be a little steamy down there as the Rough Riders and the Posse get together for the first time, both unbeaten after week 1. Second and 10, Kent Austin and the BC Lions. Millington is stopped by McCready, who is a former BC Lion as well. There are lots of former Lions and former Rough Riders on the field tonight. 20 in all have played for one of these teams or the other at a certain time in their career.
As I said earlier, it's tough because so many off-season trades were made. I mean, some guys, you know, it was 5 years ago, but boy, they shuffled the deck after 1993 completely, and there you see it now. It becomes a little difficult to figure out sometimes.
54 seconds till three-quarter time. Lou Pasanglia. Nick Mazzoli on the return. Tries the short side. Not much room for Mazzoli there. Rough Riders will begin near the 40.
John, you asked me the question in the first half. I have the answer. Lou Pasanglia last week passed 55 miles in punting. If a mile is 1,760 yards, which it is, Lou is over 95,000 yards punting. His kickoffs have traveled about 27 miles. That's a long ways.
Yeah, can you work that out in kilometers for us, Gordon? Get right back.
See you next week.
First down, Ottawa. Here's Danny Barrett. Stanley makes the catch. Number 80, Walter Stanley. Charles Gordon forcing Stanley out of bounds. Still haven't decided if this is a first down or not. It is rather close. Second, less than a yard to go. Barrett had to fire in a hurry. Might have been looking for Darren Joseph, number 20, but he buried that one on the turf, and that is the end of quarter number 3. The Lions rode a hot hand in the opening quarter to a 21-0 advantage, and they currently lead it 36-15. Fourth quarter coming up on CFL Live from Ottawa. We're with the Ottawa Rough Riders next Wednesday at Commonwealth in Edmonton against the Eskimos, where Ron Lancaster and company may be a little snarly after losing 50-35 to Dunnigan and the Blue Bombers. And then we'll slide over to Taylor Field, Regina for the Argos and the Rough Riders. That's on Friday.
But John, you know what I still feel so surprising from last night's Winnipeg-Edmonton game is Dunnigan throws for over 700 yards and Edmonton only loses by 15 points.
Well, the Eskimo quarterbacks tossed for 332 yards and lost.
Wow.
3rd and 1, and it will be a first down. Three-quarter numbers up on the board now. 395 net yards for the Lions compared to 259 for the Ottawa Rough Riders. And the Riders are closing the gap a little bit, but they aren't closing in on the scoreboard quickly enough with only a quarter to go. First and 10. Ottawa at the 51. Barrett underneath the cover for Joseph. Joseph squirted through two tacklers and makes it all the way to the 35. Brian Ford finally made the tackle. Nice play by Joseph for 24 yards.
Yeah, this is a good look. Here's Joseph here. Now here's Virgil Robertson here. He's got to get out there and cover him. No way he can get out there. A nice recognition by Danny Barrett. The key is when you see that, get him the ball quickly so he can get it and start running with it.
First and 10 Ottawa. BC 35. Barrett looking for a corner. Almost an incredible catch for Jock Climby. He really made a move on the football at the last second.
Well, in a short period of time, Jock Climby has obviously become their favorite receiver and target for Danny Barrett. He's in behind Kelly Sims there, but once again, the ball just hangs up and is a little bit late, and Climby almost makes the tremendous catch. But, you know, had Danny Barrett released that a little sooner, Climby might have had the touchdown. I think Danny Barrett's still getting used to Climby. Hey, he's a guy that is sneaky fast. I mean, he doesn't look fast, but he is a little faster than I think Danny Barrett thinks.
Second and 10 Ottawa. Barrett on target at the 25. This time, Climby makes the catch. Jackson was covering on Jock Climby. You'll see it again here.
Yeah, good technique. You know, you have to have confidence in your ability. If you're going to take a defensive back really hard up the inside and try and break it back to the outside and not give your pattern away too early. And I'm so impressed after watching Climby for 2 weeks that his confidence is at an all-time high.
Another Ottawa first down. And Barrett looks to the end zone. Mazzoli, the intended receiver. Sims was covering. No markers anywhere.
Again, it's Kelly Sims defending in the end zone.
Well, Enos Jackson and Kelly Sims, the two inside halfbacks, are really getting a workout tonight because it's apparent that the offense not only structured around Michael Richardson, who is out with an injury right now, but also the two slot backs. So that means Sims and Jackson get a lot of work in the BC secondary.
12:40 to go. Rough Riders trying to make a game of it. They'll likely need a touchdown here to do so. Barrett hit as he threw. Scribner got through, number 72. Scribner, a player of great intensity in that BC Lion defense. He's really turned into a solid performer.
He lined up on the outside and really nobody touched him, so no chance for Danny Barrett to get that ball away. Blocking mistake up front by the Ottawa offensive line. Brings up an interesting point. Markel Fleetwood is into hold again. In the first half, he mishandled a snap, and I've always been a big believer that a receiver should be the holder if you can do it. A guy that touches the football, catching it all the time.
Rather than a quarterback who gets a little chilly on the sidelines, particularly a backup.
And I think he makes it here, but I think that holds true even more so in the fall when the weather gets a little colder. I've always liked to have a guy that handles it all the time, not somebody coming in off the bench.
The field goal was good, but there was a marker down holding against Ottawa. The verdict?
Holding. Ottawa number 36. Repeat third down.
So they'll move Terry Baker back and make him do it again.
That's Joe Sardo, a reserve linebacker, in there on the special teams.
This next home game will be August 3rd when the Riders take on the Calgary Stampede. The tickets for all the Riders games this season are available now.
Back at the 40-yard line now. It is 36-15. Ottawa tries to get within 18 points on this field goal by Baker. Baker has this one. So it is 36-18. The BC Lions still have twice as many points as the Ottawa Rough Riders. From Ottawa, CFL Live. Adam Reid and the Ottawa Rough Riders still with a lot of work to do. They were down 21-0 before you could really blink. It was 21-0 BC at the end of quarter 1.
Yeah, tough start really cost them in this game. You know, to spot a team like BC's offense, 21 points, and try and play catch up with Adam's style of offense that he has right here is a tall order.
And tougher now with Michael Richardson out of the game as far as the Ottawa Rough Riders are concerned.
Well, traditionally when the Western clubs, especially Vancouver, make the swing into the East with the 3-hour time difference, as a head coach you always worry, you know, will your team be a little sluggish when they come down here, make the long trip and play in the humidity that they're not used to in Vancouver. But his guys came out of the gate flying tonight and really have never looked back. A bit of a defensive letdown in the second half. I think they're playing a lot softer than they normally would, but still, nevertheless, with 11:49 to go, they enjoy a nice 18-point lead.
Baker's kickoff. Philpotts doesn't have a play, so they'll try it over again. Coming out of the Ottawa dressing room, Michael Richardson, obviously finished for the night, but doesn't appear to be a knee injury, as you were suggesting, Leaf. It's something pulled in the thigh area, or at least that's where the ice pack is.
I always remember the trainers would say, you know, when you get that quad pull, if it's in the middle, it's a bad one. If it's at the bottom or the top, they heal a little quicker. And I don't know where his is, but, you know, I've had them. And then that's an injury that, I mean, it hurts. And it can take quite some time to recover. You look at the Ottawa schedule, heck, they go to Edmonton for next Wednesday night. And they just don't have a lot of time. And who they can quickly work into the lineup, I don't know. That will be Mike McCarthy's job.
Yeah, I guess so. And they'll hopefully have Stephon Jones back in the lineup, although that seemed a little more doubtful today than it did yesterday when we talked to Adam Reid. Jones is missing tonight. And I think the Ottawa Rough Riders are missing him. Corey Philpott is making his first start for the BC Lions, and he's had quite a night running the football, and on kick returns, 29 yards there. Kent Austin rounding into form in his second game as a BC Lion, 18 of 30. Closing in on 300 yards. It's safe to say he'll be over 300 tonight.
Yeah, I would think so. That's a very solid performance for Austin. And as we indicated in the opening of the show tonight, he does not have two poor performances back-to-back, and certainly bear that fact out tonight with his showing.
And he's had to use a variety of receivers. Right now he's got Basinger and McLennan out there as his wide receivers. He goes for Trevathan, and the coverage there was by Gary Lewis, number 21.
All right, gentlemen, I'm here with Michael Richardson. And Michael, what happened on your play?
Nothing. I mean, I was running up the seam, and I saw the free safety coming over. And I was just trying to accelerate to an angle to catch the ball, and it just gave out on me. I felt like it was going to pop, and I just pulled up.
How serious is it?
Maybe 2 to 4 weeks. Partially torn, maybe 2 to 4.
It's got to be bitterly disappointing after the start you had.
Oh, definitely. But it's all right. I'm going to be positive and keep my head up, and when I come back, maybe I'll be able to make something happen.
Michael, thanks for talking to us. Speedy recovery.
Here's the other key running back in this game, making it happen right now. Corey Philpott has a chance for the touchdown and gets it. What a brilliant run by Corey Philpott. And what a great night he's had. 71 yards for Philpott. Touchdown. Hang on, there is a marker down, but the indication is it's against the Ottawa Rough Riders. Declined, and Philpott has a couple of touchdowns for BC tonight.
Well, the encouraging thing for BC, you knew they'd be an awesome passing team, but to have and add that running game as well is really a bonus. And Corey Philpott, who played 11 games for the Lions last season, looks like he is starting off where he left off last year with adding, making huge contributions to the offense. Well, he got a heck of a block at the point of attack from Sean Millington. And Millington, who was the all-Canadian fullback, led the team in rushing last week. And this week he's providing some great lead blocking for his running mate.
Now it is 43-18, BC leading the Ottawa Rough Riders. Tough night at the OK Corral for the Rough Riders here. Corey Philpott is seeing to that. 14 carries, 160 yards, and there goes Philpott for his second touchdown of the night.
All the way. The six is back, baby. Six is back.
Dave Ritchie said he wanted to run the football a little bit more tonight, and he had Corey Philpott in the lineup. It's worked out rather well.
Well, he's got great speed once he gets to the outside, but the key is Sean Millington right here, and here's Jesse Small. Now you watch, is this any kind of block? And this, of course, allows Philpott here man-to-man coverage. That takes these guys out of contention to make a tackle, but you know, that's 6'3", 240 against 6'4", 240, and Sean Millington wins the battle there, and then Philpott with the good footwork to get away from one tackle, and boy, he impressed me with his speed too. He ran away from Patrick Burke.
71-yard touchdown makes it 43-18 BC. Here's Lou Pasaglia's kickoff. Horace Brooks, typical of what's happened to Ottawa tonight. He didn't get a chance to play that. Touched it and had it roll off his fingertips and out of bounds. Well, some impressive numbers for this guy. 14 for 160 and a couple of touchdowns.
And I think even overshadowed with that is his ability to catch the football out of the backfield. You know, he could be really a true all-round running back that will complement this offense so nicely. And if you ask Corey what he likes doing best, I'm sure he'd tell you he likes returning the kickoffs the best of anything.
Ottawa first down. Tough running inside for Darren Joseph, who barely gets back to the original line of scrimmage. Doug Hocking made the tackle, number 90. BC Lion defense had a lot of new faces last week and then had to make some more adjustments this week. 10 players in the Lions defense were not there last year, but Dave Ritchie D is hanging in there tonight. A little more heat right there on Barrett from Scribner. Looking ahead to the second week of the CFL season, there's where it stands right now, but the Rough Riders will most certainly drop down before this weekend is over with Baltimore.
Yeah, Baltimore's got a tough one at home with Calgary coming off that loss in Regina last week, so you know Doug Flutie and his guys are trying their best to get their first win of the season. First time Wally Buono's lost a game in July as a head coach.
So it's Wally versus Don in Baltimore tomorrow. Baker likely didn't like the alignment that he had, and here comes a player onto the field.
Yeah, I didn't like it because he didn't have enough guys out there.
10, still third down.
Dean Noel is a little late in arriving, and perhaps that's because of injury, because he didn't realize his responsibility on the kicking team. When you only count 11, you take a little extra time and take the distance. Trevathan laid out and tried to get through to block that Baker punt. Here's Freeman Basinger escaping, and he's inside the 40-yard line. Excellent field position once more for the BC Lions to add to the lead. They have lots of time to do it, folks. 9:24 to go, and the Ottawa Rough Riders are in a big hole at 43-18.
Back at Frank Clark Stadium with Murph Fernandez. I take it the groin pull isn't too serious?
Well, it's serious enough to keep me out for the rest of the game, but I guess it's a good game to sit out because we're winning 43-18.
How's it feel to be back?
Feels good. You know, it's we're getting back in the swing of things, and Ken's looking really well tonight, and the team is coming together. You know, and each game, each week that we play, we're just going to get stronger and stronger.
A lot of things have changed in this league since you left.
A lot of things have changed. It's still the CFL. It's still football. I mean, I don't see as big a crowds that I used to see when I was playing, but you know, the game is still there. I mean, guys are still doing the same thing.
Glad to have you back, Merv. Speedy recovery.
Thanks.
Here's the Lions' first down. Philpott gets the call. Penalty markers down one more time. We'll sort it out.
You know, that last punt by Terry Baker, Mike Trevathan comes in from the outside untouched and makes a great effort to try and block this kick now. But the only thing missing, and I'm going to help him out with it right here. Well, it's a little too black. I was going to put a swimming pool in there for him because this is some kind of dive here. Watch this.
Did not miss by much.
Nice effort.
Looked like Greg Louganis there. Wasn't much of a pool, though, partner.
It's a lousy pool.
Yeah.
Probably why he hit the ground so hard.
You haven't had any luck with the pool all weekend, have you?
Be there tomorrow.
Austin finds Basinger on 1st and 20. And he only gets about 7 back. Benefield and Smith in on the tackle. Yeah, how do you like the Lions offense tonight? 28 points first half, 3 touchdown passes by Austin. Philpott has 160 running, and Flutie has 140 receiving. Should be enough to win a ball game, don't you think?
Usually. Well, I think the thing that impresses me about BC as much as anything, too, is their depth that they've been able to show tonight.
Markers are down again. Trevathan makes the catch. And he's inside the 25. Finally tracked down by Gary Lewis after a 16-yard gain.
Well, I think the measure of a team, John, is how do they function when your starters are out of the game. You know, Fernandez.
Ottawa number 38 declined. First down.
Fernandez has been out. Alexander's been out. So Basinger and McLennan come in. They don't skip a beat. The offense functions nicely. They had to make some defensive changes this week with some injuries. Dave Chaters comes in and the front 3 looks good. So in my opinion, you know, the measure of a really good team is your depth. How well do you play when you get some players hurt? And the Lions have functioned at a very high level.
8:01 to go. Philpott again this time. No go as he stopped at the 25-yard line on 1st and 10. Jeff Braswell is there. We haven't mentioned his name a great deal tonight. We haven't mentioned Jesse Small a whole bunch either. Number 50, the highly touted newcomer to the Ottawa defense. 53 games in the NFL. We have mentioned that gentleman's name, Mr. Philpott. Off for equipment repair right now, Corey Philpott. 15 for 161. He got the first touchdown of the game, and he has the most recent touchdown. Hansen is in for Philpott. Austin over the middle on 2nd and 9, and Flutie makes the catch and hangs on despite a couple of good hits down there. Trudell was there, 15 yards the gain.
Here's Darren Flutie at the top of the screen, and as he comes off, watch how hard he works to get that inside position. And well, that's the key. You set up such a good lane. See the move to the outside, the hips are turned, and as soon as Austin sees the defensive back's hips turn, he knows the break's coming, and that's when he puts it in the air, and there's no way you can stop it.
All inside the line. It's 1st and goal line.
1st and goal to go. The Lions knocking on the Ottawa door one more time. 1st and goal to go at the 9. Markers down. Hansen got the call, but they whistled the play dead. A procedure call will go against the Lions. 6:29 to go till full time. It's Hall of Fame weekend. If you're in the Hamilton area this weekend, don't forget that Tom Clements, Bill Baker, Gene Gaines will be inducted into the CFL Hall of Fame.
Still first down.
Big dinner tomorrow night over in Hamilton to honor all those people. Don McNaughton as well is going to be inducted. Should be a fun night.
Philpott is back in and gets the call. And And he finds the end zone. Cut the corner perfectly. Corey Philpott, that's touchdown number 3 from 13 yards away. First and goal to go from the 15, and Jake Ireland is indicating a holding problem here.
Hold. BC number 60. Repeat first.
They'll repeat the down. It's Jamie Terrace. No TD this time.
Yeah, here's Terrace coming. He's going to come around the corner, and you're going to see Alfred Smith, the linebacker, come out that way as well. And, you know, Terrace makes good contact on the block, but gets the arms hooked around on Smith, and there you see the grab right there. Al Smith's going to make the play, and good call by the officials.
Well, now it is first and goal to go from the 24. Austin looked for Trevathan, and he got caught up. Gary Lewis was covering, and Trevathan went down. Dave Ritchie's got a 43-18 lead, and he's still angry about a call that he thought might have been made.
Well, I think Trevathan tripped on his own feet there, and well, I'd leave the blood pressure alone when you have a lead like this.
Yeah, it's a long season, and when the lead is this substantial,
but Dave's got more energy
in the good
now.
books.
You know, he's slimmed down. He's got more energy late in the game.
Austin has Flutie. He has the touchdown. They're almost to 50. 49-18. Very impressive offensive display for Kent Austin and the BC Lions.
Yeah, this pass is done on purpose. It's thrown behind because he knows the defensive back has no way of locating the football. And of course, you know, Darren Flutie is looking back at it all the way. He can adjust to the shorter throw. And, you know, you sit at home and watch on TV and you say, boy, were they ever lucky with a lousy ball being caught for a touchdown. But let me tell you, they do that on purpose because it's so difficult for the defensive back to turn around and locate it.
Yeah, nice adjustment by Flutie. Busaglia makes it 50 for the BC Lions. 50-18. Flutie, some impressive numbers.
Now, Flutie, great night, 8 for 178 and a touchdown. And you know, it's interesting to see when a team loses a couple of receivers, as they have in Alexander and Mervin Fernandez, who picks up the slack? Well, obviously Darren Flutie has with his play, and Kent Austin's recognized that he's having a good night. He's gone to him 8 times. They got to work on the high fives, though. There, they kind of missed that one.
The svelte Dave Ritchie.
It's a good-looking team, the BC Lions. You know, you win ugly in your opener. You don't play well, but you still get the victory. That's encouraging. Now you play well, and you get the relatively easy win. The players won't tell you it was easy, but at 50-18 sure looks that way. They're off to a nice start.
Here's the return for Ottawa. Horace Brooks, and he hasn't had a big night as a return guy for the Rough Riders. Doug Hocking has a pretty good night on special teams for BC. He led the tacklers there.
And I really agree with the move that Adam Rita's making here. He's putting Markel Fleetwood in the game and giving Danny Bear a little rest. Scoring drive once again. They've all been relatively long for the BC Lions tonight. CFL, of course, such a run and gun league, but they put together a number of really long, nice scoring drives tonight.
Well, the Ottawa Rough Riders will change it up at quarterback. Good move. Fleetwood in. He saw a little action last week, was good on 1 of 4 for 10 yards. And his first toss is complete to Horace Brooks. Quick out, stopped by Kelly Sims. Fleetwood in relief last week of Danny Barron when the Ottawa Rough Riders had the big lead. Second season with Ottawa. Markel Fleetwood faces a big struggle here with 4 to go. 4 minutes, 11 seconds on the clock. Joseph gets the call. Again, we point out that Michael Richardson is out of the game and might be lost to Ottawa for some period of time. So Adam Rita is forced to make some adjustments to his running game. He's already down a couple as far as wide receivers go, with Stephon Jones not dressing for the game tonight, and he's got Horace Brooks at one side and Walter Stanley, rather inexperienced, at the other side as an outside receiver. Only real constants as far as Ottawa is concerned in the backfield are Jock Climby and Nick Mazzoli, the slot backs. It's been tough slugging for Ottawa. They'll measure this to see if it is a first down. 50-18 with 3:55 to go. Third down. Less than a yard to go, Ottawa. Fleetwood himself, and no markers anywhere. It'll be a first down.
Fleetwood's got the first down.
Looking ahead to complete Week 2 activity in the CFL tomorrow. Calgary at Baltimore. Toronto at Shreveport, and Saskatchewan playing in Las Vegas. I wonder if the Rough Riders will be gambling tomorrow night. Or I wonder if they're gambling tonight.
Probably. A little bit anyway. I don't think you can go there and not do a little.
You got to be playing the slots.
Heck, that's part of the fun of being there.
First and 10. Fleetwood at the controls for Ottawa now. Big charge is on. He got away from Chapman and has this one picked off by Les Brown. Still the best, says Dave Ritchie. Best on the corner. Les was telling us prior to the game that this is his farewell tour of Canadian football. Do you believe it?
Yeah, I do. He said this is it. He's going to retire after this season, after an illustrious career that has seen him become the all-time CFL leader in interceptions. This is his first of 1994, his 77th of a tremendous 11-year career. A ball that Fleetwood shouldn't have thrown, but he threw it anyway. When you're down 50-18, it really doesn't matter anymore. Take a chance, but Les comes up with the interception.
Les Brown has been with Dave Ritchie on his last 3 stops in Winnipeg, in Ottawa, and now in BC.
He likes them.
Lions are the happy leaders right now. It's 50-18 on CFL Live. Back in Ottawa, Rough Rider quarterback Markel Fleetwood is being attended to, and now he's to his feet. I guess he was waiting for us to get back so he could jump up.
Well, he seemed to land funny after number 90, Doug Hawking, gives him a shot right there in the chest. He seems to go down a little awkward and land on his right arm and jam the shoulder maybe a little bit.
After the interception, Austin takes a rest, and Danny McManus takes over controls of the BC Lions with a 50-18 lead. McManus saw duty last week as well. That was Sean Millington. Last week he played for Austin when Austin was on the sidelines recovering from a little bit of a ding he took, and was waiting to clear his head.
Well, as Dave Ritchie says, is there anybody better to come in off the bench in a backup capacity than Danny McManus? And I really can't think of anybody in the league that has a better number 2 quarterback than BC.
Yeah, he's got the experience in Canadian football with Winnipeg and now with BC. McManus pitching for Sean Millington, away from one tackle. Millington gets outside. Nice run. He's inside the 20, draws a penalty marker over there, 14 yards. Remy Trudel was the tackler on Sean Millington that time.
Now, do you think Sean Millington is pretty tough when he runs the football? Here he is here. Now, hey, here's Braswell. Bing, 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 bing. He's going to come over here. Here's the collision going to be right there. And you watch who wins this battle. Hey, Braswell's 245 pounds. Millington's about 230. Here it comes. Right there. Absorbs the hit, keeps his pad square, and keeps on ticking.
What was that? Bing, 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 bing. I thought you were going to do sound effects for the entire.
That's what the linebackers do when they kind of scope and scrape across the middle, kind of bing, bing, bing over there.
Yeah, they yell bing, bing, bing as
they usually make the big blast. But that time, you know, as a running back, if you can deliver a blow like that, oh, what an asset.
Still 2:13 to go, and a long night for the Ottawa Rough Riders. Lions are 1st and 10. Ryan Hansen gets the call this time. He is inside the 15, and Braswell is there. Bing, 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 bing.
Yeah. Well, he did a little better bing-binging this time because he makes the play, but take a look at number 44, Jeff Braswell. And you know, I talked about the depth of the BC Lions to take that one step further. I mean, now you got Ryan Hansen and Millington in the game in the backfield replacing Corey Philpott. He's getting a rest right there. But, I mean, that's good depth. Danny Mack at your number 2 quarterback, that's good depth. Like Eric Tillman, the GM, you know, you got to give this guy a lot of credit.
Here's Ryan Hansen away from one tackle. He is inside the 10, almost to the 5-yard line. Stop, I guess, about the 7 is where they'll spot the ball.
Yeah, this becomes very academic now. 1:47 to go. I think everybody out there is just trying to say, look, let's run out the clock. Let's try and stay healthy and get ready for next week. And both sides are saying this.
Remy Trudell was in on the tackle. His name has been mentioned quite frequently tonight, and that's not usually good news, is it?
No, you don't like your middle safety in this league making a lot of tackles because they usually line up about 12 to 15 yards deep.
First and goal to go at the 7-yard line. Well read by the Ottawa defense that time. And there is nowhere to go with 1:26 to play. Kropke in on the tackle. Number 73. Been a long night for Kropke, Kulka, and McCready up front. Lions have their offensive line back intact this week with Sinclair back in the lineup. That moves Terrace to right guard. Jamie Terrace, number 60, was the starting center in relief of Sinclair last week. 1:09 to play. Millington gets the call, looks to the outside. He's got a head of speed, and he can't quite get into the end zone. Stopped at about the 1-yard line, forced out by Jeff Braswell, and Millington really wanted to get there. Didn't miss by much, just didn't have the angle.
Well, Millington pretty cagey as he gets to the outside. Rather than trying to run over someone, he just gets that straight arm out, let it go just a little farther, and you're going to see as he makes contact, there goes the straight arm right out there on Patrick Wayne. He kind of gets rid of him, but you know, it knocks Millington off balance just enough that he's not able to tighten up. I kind of thought he got in here, but I guess he got it in the half-yard line.
Stepped over the post. There is a touchdown for Ryan Hansen. 3rd down, 1 to go. 3rd and goal to go from the 1, and Hansen is into the end zone, adding to the miseries of the Ottawa Rough Riders. Some might say that the Lions have run it up here a bit.
I don't think so. They've kept it on the ground. You know, what can you do? Everybody's just trying to stay healthy here late in the game. The score really doesn't mean a heck of a lot now.
56-18. The Lions opened a 21-0 lead. And that was in the opening quarter. The Rough Riders really didn't get on track tonight.
And they didn't even need Mervyn.
Well, Fernandez was out in the first half.
What a luxury to be able to sit him out, and hopefully his groin will heal in time for their next game. They have Hamilton at home next Thursday night at BC Place, and you fans out in Vancouver, I mean, this team is for real. They're off to a nice 2-0 start. Good, solid win on the road. They're coming home to the home crowd, and they are for real.
The question marks were on defense for the Lions, and realistically last week the defense bent a little bit, but it came up with big plays to beat the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. A victory we described as perhaps not pretty or even ugly at the outset, but they did win it. It was a character victory, and the defense has looked pretty solid against the Ottawa Rough Riders here tonight. Granted, Ottawa had a couple of problems with outside receivers and a little lack of experience out there to start this game.
Yeah, I think so, John. And the question marks for BC on defense have been answered so far in the first 2 games. And I think it's the secondary really that's impressed me as much as anything. That was always kind of a a sore spot for the BC Lions, but in the first 2 games of the season, they've been sensational.
Brooks was stopped near the 21-yard line. Lions have 57 on the board so far tonight. And it's been a tough game. Alexander has been shaken up. As we mentioned, Fernandez was taken out of the ball game in the first half. Lions have scored 4 touchdowns in their last 6 possessions. They scored touchdowns in their first 3 to get the ball game underway.
And as you see that score there, that is now a new club record for the BC Lions. The old record being 55 points scored. So a little history being made and a nice win.
Fleetwood at the controls for Ottawa. There is nowhere for Darren Joseph to run.
In a conversation with Adam Rita yesterday, he said the good games that we play, we always watch the film on that and try and take the good points and make them better. The games that we have bad nights, sometimes we just throw that film away and don't dwell on it. I suspect this one will end up in the garbage.
Yeah, no movies tomorrow at the Ottawa Clubhouse.
I don't think so.
Little spark here for Joseph with 22 seconds on the clock. And mercifully, this will end shortly for the Ottawa Rough Riders. Dave Ritchie will go to 2-0. He got off to a good start last year in his first season as head coach with the BC Lions. Very respectable 10-8 record.
Well, obviously, one of the reasons why you want to get off to a good start, I mean, it sets the tone for the season, but really in an 18-game schedule, you're going to have certainly some up and down periods, and every win becomes so crucial. And let me tell you, the win in July is the same one as the win in October, so these are very important.
Fleetwood, good fake, and managed to find some running room to the far side of the field. It mattered not, because that'll be the end of a football evening that was a long one for Ottawa Rough Rider fans, and a happy one for the BC Lions. Dave Ritchie goes to 2-0.
Well, they're off to a great start, and they'll, of course, as I said, be home to Hamilton next week and have a great chance to keep it rolling. For Adam Rita, this is a team that a year ago was filled with all kinds of self-doubt. And I'm sure after tonight, some of the players will be thinking, gosh, how good are we? Well, I think this is still a pretty good football team. Injuries really played a factor in their lineup tonight, and they have to guard against letting that self-doubt creep back in that, yes, 94 could be the same as 93, and there's no question Adam Rita, who is a great motivator and a great psychologist with his players, will be starting to work on that tomorrow and get them ready for next Wednesday in Edmonton.
Let's get down to field level and join in the BC celebrations with Gord Miller and Dave Ritchie.
Yeah, it's a celebration indeed for Dave Ritchie. Not quite as close as last week, but a clinic your club put on tonight.
They played hard tonight, played good, and our offense played well, and the defense played hard enough to be there. We started out real well, and I think that's what turned the thing around, and they played real hard, well in the second half.
What was the key to the offensive success in the first half, you think?
Well, I think they worked hard last week getting ready, and they had a tough time with Winnipeg, and they came back last week and worked real hard in practice and put it all together tonight.
And Corey Philpott made a difference.
He's a good runner. I told him he was going to play against one of the best, which I still think Mike Richardson's a great running back. Corey played a great game tonight. I don't know how many yards he got, but he played a great game.
I know there's concerns for coaches whenever someone gets hurt, but when you see Fernandez and Alexander go out and the offense doesn't really miss a beat, that's got to make you happy.
Well, Darren went outside and played very well, and Spinney came in and played well, and our receiving core is pretty good.
Finally, your defense has played so well in the first couple of weeks, especially tonight. With the losses that you had along the front seven especially, does that make you happy?
We're happy. Gene Gaines has done a great job with them, and Dave Easley and Michael Gray we picked up. He lives in Vancouver. They did a great job getting them ready, prepped them up good, and they came to play. We bent a little bit, but when you get a big lead, I guess you bend a little bit, and I think that's what happened to us.
Coach, talk to the troops. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
This one was over in the blink of an eye, folks. It was 21-0 British Columbia before the Ottawa Rough Riders even responded. There's the final. A long night for the Rough Riders, a superb night for Darren Flutie and all of those BC Lions.